Good morning, everybody. As y'all are checking in, hope everybody's having a great day so far. Let's make sure that we are set up in all the places we need to be set up. Good morning, everybody. As y'all checking in, or good afternoon, or good evening. It might be nighttime for some of you. Wherever you are checking in, might be later in the day. If you are somewhere overseas, let's make sure we are good on LinkedIn. We are in. We're on Facebook. We are live on Rumble and X, and looks like we are good on YouTube as well. We are good on Instagram, and we are also good on TikTok. Good morning, everybody. I don't know if Brittany is in here, my moderator. Let's see. I think she'll be here. Maybe she isn't in here right now. But as y'all are coming in, you can shout yourselves out. We're going to get started right now. What we're going to talk about today is something that the people who were here yesterday, some of you were here yesterday, and I was telling you that I had a couple topics coming up in the future where we were going to talk about these initiatives that the Trump administration, the incoming Trump administration, has claimed that they're going to push forward. And well, not even actually, let me back up. That some of them that he has said he's going to do, such as make America healthy again. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. But this one is one, Xtina, thank you for the heart off top. So this is one that has been kind of pinned on him. Kamala Harris's campaign used this a lot. And a lot of people who are anti-Trump or just on the left, call that everybody, Democrats, progressives, whatever words, liberals, whatever words you want to call, they all pin this on Trump, that he's going to do this Project 2025, and Project 2025 is so terrible. What we're going to do today is talk about Project 25, and we're going to go right down the line with the things that Project 2025 says about itself, and we're going to discuss, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Why or why not? Well, I'm going to tell you where I'm getting the information from in 1 second. First, let me introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books, done 4 TEDx talks, created this brand called Work on Your Game. Our job over here is we help high-level performers, those of you who are ambitious, those of you who have big goals, entrepreneurs, people who want to start their entrepreneurial ventures, or those of you who are just ambitious and have big goals, and you want to make sure that all your stuff is aligned when it comes to your mindset, your approach, your systems, meaning your habits, things you do consistently, your disciplines, and of course the accountability for producing results. Those are the kind of people that we help, and you can be a full-time employee, you can be running your own business, you can be in between the two. We help people who are aligned with that. You listen to me talk, you get a pretty good feel if I'm the type of person you will want to work with. You can click the link in my bio. It's workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can learn more about who we help, how we work with people, and what we can do to help people like yourself. Again, that's just a link in my bio. Let me also add one other thing before we even get into the content. Whichever app you are following me on, I'm live on 7 different platforms right now. So if you see me switching my attention from here to here to here, that's because I have 3 different devices here to cover all 7 platforms. Make sure you follow me in more than one place, because if anything happens to any of my accounts on any one of these apps, YouTube, Rumble, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, then you can still find me on one of the other apps. And we know it's happened a couple times on this one right here that I'm looking at. So make sure you follow me on TikTok specifically. You can see a link in my bio to my YouTube channel, also to my Instagram. So they're easy for you to go over to. My Instagram is just my name, Dre Baldwin. On every app, I got like different screen names on almost every one because the screen names weren't all available. So you just type my name in. My name is Dre, D-R-E. Last name is Baldwin. And you can find me on any app. Just type that name in. I'm usually pretty prominent and easy to find. I wasn't looking in the comments over here on TikTok. Is Brittany in here? My moderator, Brittany, in here? I don't know if she's in here or not. If she is, leave a comment. Let me know that you're here and pin it so I can see it. So what we're going to do when it comes to the truth about Project 2025, okay? I'm going to read straight from their website what they say about their platform. We're going to go right down the line with the things that they have said, what's true, what's not true, and why they want to do it. Someone asked, are these my books that you can see behind me? Yes, these are my books. So this is what Project 2025 says, their website. I'm reading straight from their site. They say the left has spent millions fear-mongering about Project 2025 because they're terrified of losing their power. And they should be. Project 2025 offers a menu of solutions to the border crisis, inflation, a stagnant economy, and rampant crime. It shows how we take on a country that starts with the letter C, whose name I'm not going to say because of this app that I'm looking at right here, how we fix our schools and support families. And most importantly, it dismantles the unaccountable deep state, taking power away from the leftist elites and giving it back to the American people. And Dorian, thank you. So this is all coming straight from their website. Again, I'm reading right from their website right now. And let me read a little bit more, 2 more paragraphs, because this is important, because this lays the frame for exactly what we're going to talk about. Project 2025 is a historic movement brought together by 100 respected organizations from across the conservative movement to abolish the deep state and return government to the people. It is not partisan, nor is it secret. Project 2025 does not speak for any candidate or campaign in any capacity. That's all in bold, what that part that I just read. It was stood up in 2022, meaning they start talking about this in 2022, before any major candidate even announced a campaign to assist the next conservative president. So what they're saying here, I'm out of the reading now. What Project 2025 is saying is that they created this plan specifically for the next conservative president, not specifically for any particular person, such as Donald Trump. Now, we all knew Donald Trump was probably looming and coming back. But what they're saying is that they created this kind of program for the next wave. And I'm going to add something to that in a second. But I want to read one more thing that they said, because this kind of touches on what I'm going to say. Project 2020, they said we're open book with our materials available online. We all know that. For those of you who don't know, Project 2025, if you actually read the document, it's like 1,000 pages long. So many people are talking about Project 2025, have not even read it because 1,000 pages long. I don't know if any of you have had the time, since it's been talked about in the last like 90 days, to read a 1,000-page document. And these things are written by lawyers and policy writers, and it's kind of tedious to read through these things. But we're going to see what they say, and we're going to talk about it. Continuing my reading now, back to what they said. Project 2025's policy book is nothing new. That, I fact checked, that is correct. It is not new. Mandate for Leadership, that's the name of their program, has been published regularly since the 1980s. This is also true. So let me get out of this. I'm out of the reading right now. Let me just speak to you all. When it comes to think tanks, this is what this is. A think tank is a bunch of people who come together to come up with a program or a plan for, let's say, policy, for government, for a certain politician, et cetera, et cetera. This is not new. People do this all the time. Groups do this all the time. And by the way, it is not limited to the right. People on the left do the exact same thing. Now, let me get back to reading to explain more. They said it's been published since the 1980s. That is true. And in it, respected conservative authors, and by the way, I'll respond to all comments at the end. So any of you leaving comments while I'm talking, I will get into it in the end. And in it, respected conservative authors, JBJ was going on. He said, just objectively, emotionally feel morally justified. Well, of course, if you've been catching my eyes, JBJ, that's been a theme here, but we're going to get to that. So in it, respected conservative authors, this is them, their words. They espouse conservative policy for ideas for incoming administrations to consider. So they've been doing this for the last 40 years, basically, is what they're saying. Progressive organizations, that's the people on the other side, the Democrats, they do the same thing. Fact check, that's true. They all do this, by the way. So when Bill Clinton was president, when Obama was president, when Biden was president, they have these groups that we call them think tanks. It's basically a bunch of people who come together and basically create programs and plans and policy ideas, and they hand it over to the president and say, hey, consider this. And what usually happens is the president or the nominee, they'll go through it and they'll take certain parts and use it, and they'll take certain parts and leave it. This is how they decide what to do. They all do this. This is not new. So anyway, continue reading. As just one example, the far left Center for American Progress, that's the name of a group, Center for American Progress, they prepare policy recommendations for liberal presidents, including for President Obama in 2008. Again, this is true. You all can look this up. This is what they do. We will not stop offering ideas to reverse America's decline. Our aim is to restore American democracy, open quote, of, by, and for the people, close quote, not by, of, and for the elites who currently control Washington, D.C. Okay, so now I'm out of the reading. Okay, so now I just read everything that they said kind of in their breakdown, because they have a whole page on their website, by the way. It's project2025.org/truth, TRUTH. So basically on this page, they basically fact check themselves based on what people have been saying about the project versus what is actually true about the project. We're going to go right down this page. I'm not going to go through every single thing they have in here. They got a lot. But over the next 45 minutes, I'm going to go through a bunch of these. Then we're going to take comments, and then we'll be done. Okay, so let's get into this. Our topic, once again, here today, folks, is we're talking about Project 2025, what's true and what's not true. Let's start, all right, right here. So first thing is the real policy recommendations. So here are the things that they're saying that they want to do. And we're going to talk about what these things are and why it matters. So the first thing is securing the border. So before I even read anything that it says on here, I'm 100% for the concept of securing the border. Why? Because every country in the world, I don't know if any of you is from another country or you're married to someone who's from another country, you all understand that you can't just go to another country without proper documentation and nothing happens to you. Thank you for that, Rose, Christy Coop. So you can't just go to another country and just do what you want to do and just come into the country without proper. Any of you who's ever traveled outside the United States, you know that when you, first of all, to even leave the United States, just to leave, you have to have proper documentation. So if you're flying to, I'm thinking of a country that I can say on here without getting TikTok to flag me. Let's say you're going to Brazil. Can I say Brazil? All right, Brazil. So let's say you're going to go to Brazil. I'm just using this as an example. To even get on the plane to go to Brazil, when you check in at the counter with Delta or American Airlines to fly to Brazil, first they ask you where you're going. And then when you tell them you're going out of the country, they got to go through all the stuff. So they need your ID, and then you got to have some kind of international travel documentation. In the USA and other countries, it's often called a passport. If you don't have a passport, they won't even check you into the flight. They won't even take your bag. You can't even go through security. So you have to have the passport, the documentation to even go. Now, how is it that people can come into America and they'll have none of this? How is that even happening? People are just coming here with no passport, and how they even, well, we know because they're coming through the southern border, we don't have to get on the plane. So when you have to get on the plane, because any country any of us go to, Americans, unless you're going north or south, you have to have the proper documentation, because you got to get on the plane. The plane is a much more just much more structured. Let's just say that, for lack of a better term. But I've been to the country to the north, Canada. I think I can say Canada. I've been to the country to the south. That's Mexico. All right. So now we know we can say those countries. So if you go into Canada or Mexico from America, you could go there without getting on a plane. And the process is not as structured, but you still got to have proper documentation. I've been to Mexico multiple times, and you have to have proper documentation. They stop you when you're going through the security checkpoint, and they're like, let me see your paperwork. Let me see your documentation. I've also been to Mexico at times, and they didn't check my paperwork. That's happened, and I've been there, and they also did check my paperwork. So sometimes we don't know going that way. But going to Canada, they are official. I told you all a week ago or so, I had a friend who lived here in Miami, a female. She was in America, and her visa expired, and I guess she forgot. She flew to Canada, tried to come back to America. She was living in America, in Miami. She tried to fly back, and they said, well, your visa expired, and you overstayed your visa. Therefore, you're banned from the country for 5 years. And she got banned from the country for 5 years because she didn't have the proper documentation. So securing the border is a thing, and I don't understand how this became some kind of partisan issue, because every country has borders. If you don't enforce your border, you don't have a country. A border is like a rule that says, all right, if you cross this line, then you're doing the wrong thing. If you stay on this side of the line, you're doing the right thing. So a border is just like a rule. If any of you who has children, for example, if you tell your children the rule and then they violate the rule and you don't do anything, then the rule is not a rule. I mean, an unenforced rule needs to be called what it actually is, which is a suggestion. If you don't enforce your borders, then you do not have a country. If you don't enforce your rules, then you don't have rules. And where there's no law, there's no order. And when you don't have borders and rules and parameters in any organization, what happens is the law of entropy states that things will descend into chaos and disorder. That's just a scientific law of how things work in humanity. When you don't have borders and guidelines and guardrails and structures and standards and or they're not being enforced. So you claim that you have them, but you're not enforcing them. Then you get disorder and you get chaos. That's just the natural way things happen in life. If you have a lawn, any of you who has a house, and you have a lawn outside of your house with flowers and grass, and you don't take care of it, you don't pull the weeds, you do not take care of the flowers, you don't make sure there's not dog poop and dog piss messing up your grass, you just leave it there, what's going to happen to your lawn? It's going to look terrible. It's going to start looking like nobody lives in the house, right? That's the exact same thing that happens if you, for example, you don't brush your teeth or floss or do anything to take care of your dental situation for a month. What's going to happen? Your breath's going to smell bad. Your teeth's going to get messed up. You're going to get cavities. You might get gum disease. All these things can happen because you are not maintaining the standards and enforcing the rules and upholding the parameters that keep things in order. So the border of the United States needs to be secured, and we need to enforce our laws. Simple as that. Doesn't mean people can't come into the country. Doesn't mean you cannot be an immigrant. Doesn't mean you can't visit. And America, as people say, is a country of immigrants. Fine, if you want to call it that, fine. But that doesn't mean that we can just let anybody in randomly just because. No, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. They need to secure the border. So I'm 100% with this whole concept of securing the border. So let me go back to what they say, Project 20. And by the way, I'm responding to all questions and comments at the end. So go back to what they say about the border. I'm not going to read every single detail here because it's long enough. But y'all can read this. Just go to project2025.org/truth. That's what the page that I'm looking at right now. So they say they're going to enforce existing immigration laws. What a novel concept. What a novel concept. All right, we have laws. If you're not enforcing a law, it's not a law. Y'all see how in certain countries, not countries, but cities in America, that during the current administration, Biden and Kamala Harris, that there are certain cities, those of you who live out in California, any of you live in California? Any Californians listen to this? Any of you live in San Francisco, listen to this. So I've seen this specifically in California. California is a big state with a lot of people. And I don't know, for some reason, this is where I've noticed it. I've seen it on social media that somebody could walk into a Walgreens or a CVS, steal something on camera, and people are filming them doing it on their phones, steal something, walk out of the store with the stuff that they stole. The security will just stand there and watch them walk out the store and not do anything. Have y'all seen this? And I'm bringing all that up to say this, that if you're not enforcing the law, it's not a law. People just do whatever they want. And I believe it was either the governor or the mayors of these cities have said things like they made these new, I don't know if they're rules, ordinances, exceptions, whatever, that if somebody steals something from a store, any of you live out there, please let me know if y'all have seen this or any of you live in the cities, that they said if someone steals something that's worth less than $1,000, we're not going to prosecute the crime. Like these are in America. I'm not talking about some third world country. In the United States of America, they're doing it. And I've seen other videos. I don't know what cities they were in. Was people were going to not just, it's one thing to steal some deodorant, some toothpaste from CVS. That's one thing. But people are going into like high-end stores. People are going into high-end stores like the Gucci store or the Louis Vuitton store and taking stuff. And the workers, or like the Nike store or something like that. Have y'all seen these videos? And the workers have been instructed. They've been instructed to stand down. Do not stop them from stealing stuff. Don't try to snatch the stuff out of their hands when they're grabbing it. And then when people know that that's the rule or the exception they're allowing, people will go in there in groups. So you would see this group of like 4 or 5 guys, it's usually men, sometimes it's females, and they'll have, sometimes they cover their face and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't even cover their face. They just take it. And they go in the store, take a whole bunch of stuff, and there's a bunch of them. So this is coordinated. They grab a whole bunch of stuff. And then and I've seen some of them where they're running out. You know, if someone was actually stealing something, you would imagine if someone's stealing something like a snatch and grab, they would run so that you can't catch them. But I see people taking stuff, they just walk out. They just walk out the store, right? And the security is just standing there watching them walk right past and not doing anything. That's crazy. And some people said that Kamala supported that. Well, Kamala is from California. Now, I'm not going to put it specifically on her, but the whole point being that if you don't enforce a law, it's not a law. It's a suggestion. And people don't have to follow suggestions, but people do have to follow laws. So continuing what they said, back to Project 2025. So they're going to say they're going to construct the wall on the southern border. So I talked about the wall when I talked about Trump specifically, that his concept of the wall is about giving you a visual that we're going to enforce our borders. This is the way Donald Trump talks. He speaks metaphorically. So people take the things that he says when they don't like him. They take the things that he says literally, but he often speaks in metaphors. So when he says we're going to build a wall, now they did start building a wall. And as a matter of fact, there was a story the other day that some guys tried to climb over the wall. One of the guys fell and he passed away trying to climb over the wall. And you can make your own jokes about that, about the efficacy of the wall being that happened. But the whole concept of Trump saying we're going to build a wall is giving you a visual in your head that we're going to enforce our borders. That's what it meant. Same thing when he mentioned the dogs and the cats in Ohio. It wasn't so much that you need to literally go find out if that's happening. It was that it created a visual in your mind that there are people in our country that should not be here, and they're doing things that we don't generally accept as acceptable in society. That was the visual he created in the head. And this is the reason why all of you remember him saying that. It's not so much whether it was factually true or not. And a lot of people who don't like Trump will say, well, see, that's proof they'll do it. But that's not the point. That's not how he talks. He talks metaphorically, not literally. And when you like a person, you understand their metaphors. And when you don't like a person, you break down every word that they say and you try to dissect it. And basically you prosecute them. And Kamala Harris prosecutor. So perfect example. So let's continue. This, again, we're just talking about securing the border. This is Project 2025's website talking about what they're going to do. They're going to restore the policy for people awaiting asylum claims to stay in the country that they're in until they get asylum. So the way it is right now, is that if someone wants asylum, they can come into America and chill here until it's decided whether they get asylum or not. What Project 2025 is saying is that if you want asylum, you got to stay where you are until you get asylum, instead of staying here until you get asylum. I'm all for that. I'm for that. Why? Because we have borders. We got laws. And it's not about me liking or not liking people from a certain country or immigrants or anything like that. It's because we have laws. And if you don't have law, you have no order. If you don't enforce your laws, you don't have laws. As simple as that. And it says, here's the last bullet point under the border. Arresting, and I'm reading straight from their site, arresting, detaining, and removing of any immigration violators anywhere in the United States. Now, this is where, again, people are like, well, how exactly is this going to happen? Are they going to call on it? Because Trump says something about he might use the National Guard and declare a state of emergency. Is he actually going to do that? We don't know. Again, I just told you. What did I just say to you? Are you listening? Donald Trump speaks in metaphors. Is he actually going to do this? I don't know. I don't know if we have the resources to do this. How exactly is he going to execute on this? I don't know. But do I believe that they're going to, the administration, because they named the guy. What's that guy's name? I believe his name is Tom Holman or something like that. Anyway, y'all know that guy's name, who he just said is going to be in charge of this stuff. That they are, and the guy was dead serious. Like, we are going, Tom Holman. Yeah, thank you, Deanna. So that guy. So he was saying, because he was on TV talking about this, that we are going to enforce the laws. I don't know how exactly they're going to do this or what their process is going to be for doing it. But again, the metaphor is, and again, all he's doing is basically thinking past the sale. So he already made the sale of winning the election. Now he's just stirring up his base by reminding them that I'm going to do everything I said I was going to do. Like he said when he won the election that night, he said, promises made, promises kept. So he's showing you that he's going to do all this stuff. And removing immigration violators anywhere in the United States. Again, I don't know how they're going to do this, but do I believe that more violators will be sent out of the country under the Trump administration as opposed to the current administration? The answer is yes. I do believe that they are going to get more violators out of the country starting in 2025 than the Biden-Harris administration has gotten out of the country in the last 4 years. I do believe that's going to happen. Now, how exactly is going to happen? We don't know. But the whole point is not how exactly they're going to do it. The point is that the point is that they have the intention of doing it, because that's what we voted for. We voted for the intention. And when I say we, I mean all Americans. Even if you voted for Harris, you voted, or you voted for Stein, or you didn't vote at all. We all voted for the person who won. So even if you didn't vote for Biden in 2020, we voted for Biden because he won. All right. That's what I mean when I say we. All right. Anyway, they talk about American energy. I don't have a ton to say about the energy stuff because I don't pay that much attention to it, just to be honest with all of you. But what they're saying is they want to get more energy out of America instead of depending on foreign energy. As a general point, I agree with that. Why do I agree with that? Because the general concept is self-reliance. The more you're reliant on yourself, I'm talking about each of us individually, the more you're reliant on yourself as a person, and the less you rely on anyone else, the more power and autonomy you have to do what you want to do, when and how and where you want to do it. Who could be against that concept? I'd rather America get all of our energy from America so that we're not dependent on another country, because what if something happens to the other country? What if they go to war and now we can't get energy from them? What if they decide they don't like us, or they don't like whoever's in charge, and they say, well, we're going to triple the price of the energy that you're getting from us? I go live every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. Somebody asked that question. So I'd rather us get our energy from ourselves than get energy from anywhere else, simply because it makes us more self-reliant. Now, some people may say, well, if we get energy from ourselves, it might cost more than if we get the energy from another place. Okay. Let's just say that that's true. What's the cost of independence? How much does independence cost? All right, freedom ain't free, ladies and gentlemen. Freedom is not free. And this goes right to this. I think there is a JoJo. Thank you for that heart. I don't know if the tariffs, because people have been asking me about this tariff thing. A bunch of you been keep asking me questions about tariffs for the last couple of days. Let me address it here. I don't know if it's on this list because this is a pretty long list. But when it comes to the tariffs, the same thing, because people have been asking me what I think about tariffs. So what is a tariff? Very simply this is what Trump says. He's going to impose tariffs. That if you're a company, let's say I got a company and I import toothpaste, all right, from Brazil. We'll just keep using Brazil here. So I import toothpaste from Brazil. What Donald Trump is saying is we're going to impose tariffs, which means me as an American-based company, the more that I'm on every platform, C. Simpson, I'm on all the platforms. Anything where you can go live, I'm live. All of them. I'm on 7 platforms right now, 7. while I'm talking. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Rumble, X, and YouTube. I'm on all of them right now. So make sure you follow me in more than one place. So if I import toothpaste from Brazil, what Donald Trump is basically proposing is that the tariff is going to be, I got to pay extra for every tube of toothpaste I import, as opposed to if I made my toothpaste in America, I wouldn't have to pay extra. So basically he is penalizing me as a company for bringing goods in from outside of the United States. Now, first of all, let's be clear. When Donald Trump ran for president in 2016, aside from saying make America great again, what was his other thing that he said? Anybody remember? It was a 2-word phrase. What was the other thing that he said when he ran for president in 2016? He still talks about it now. He doesn't say it as much, but it's still a thing, and we can see it in his policies. Anybody remember what the other thing was that he said? And I'm responding to all the questions at the end, folks. I can't respond to the comments while I'm talking because it's too many of them. The other thing he said was America first. Or America first was the other thing that he said. He made it very clear in his 2016 campaign, America first. And he mentioned many ways that he meant America first. One of the things that he said was that we are going to bring manufacturing back to the United States of America. He said that in 2016. This is not new. So this whole concept of tariffs, first of all, if any of you didn't know, I think a lot of people don't know, tariffs already exist. He's not creating tariffs. They're already tariffs. Right now, under Biden and Harris, there are tariffs. Any of you import goods, any of you run a business where you import goods from outside of the country, tariffs already exist. I remember a guy wrote me back in 2020. He wrote me an email and he said, because I had sent an article out about the election in 2020. And he said, well, Dre, my family owns a business and we import a lot of goods from a country that starts with the letter C. And we noticed that with Trump, there are tariffs. We had to pay extra to import goods from that country during Trump's administration. So this is the guy talking to me. He said, I'm going to vote for Biden because we want to pay less money to import those goods because we're not going to stop importing goods from that other country. We just want to have to spend less money to do so we can keep more money in our business. Therefore, I'm going to vote for Biden. I said, well, I respect that. It was the one sensible response I got from anybody as to why they would vote for anyone and during that election cycle. So these tariffs already exist. In case any of you didn't know, this is not new. Donald Trump is not creating tariffs. Now he can make them higher or lower. He can target certain countries and businesses, etc. But this is not a brand new thing. He didn't just make it up. Now, Mark Cuban, who basically played himself during this entire election campaign. And by the way, did y'all see Mark Cuban went and deleted all his tweets where he was supporting Kamala? He deleted all of them. Everything that he said positive about Kamala and trashing Trump, he deleted all of them after Kamala lost. Now, had Kamala won, would he have done that? Of course not. So Mark Cuban, I like Mark Cuban on Shark Tank, and he owned the basketball team in the NBA, and I'm a basketball player and fan. But Mark Cuban really played himself with that. So I answered the tariff thing. All right, tariffs are going to happen. Now, some people may say, actually, let me talk about this. I got to say something else. So let's say I'm importing this toothpaste, right? So now instead of $1 for every tube I bring in, now I got to pay $1.10. And if I'm importing thousands, that starts to add up. Now, what happens in business usually is when a business's costs go up, they do not eat the costs. What they do is pass the costs on to their customers. So that means instead of me selling you a tube of toothpaste for $2, now I'm going to start charging you $2.50. So that now your costs are going to go up. And people say, well, Trump imposing these tariffs are going to make the cost of goods for everyday consumers go up, when he's claiming that he's going to help everybody else out. The economy is a big deal, right? But now he's going to make it worse by imposing these tariffs. Well, again, let me ask you a question. What is the price of freedom? Because if you are importing your goods from outside the United States and you know that this guy ran on America first, then you got to ask yourself, is it worth it to have this increased cost, or is it not? Now, if you don't want the increased cost, you can raise the price on your customers. But let me go back to another thing I told you all when I told you that the middle class is disappearing. I did a live on that about 2-3 weeks ago. If you didn't see it, you can find it on YouTube. While the middle class is disappearing, and any of you who considers yourself middle class, you should understand why it's disappearing, is that costs are always going up. One of the main reasons costs are always going up because the United States government has no money. So they use the Federal Reserve, which is not part of the actual government. A lot of people think they are, they're not. They print money. Every time more money goes into circulation, costs go up because the value of the dollar goes down. So even if there weren't any tariffs, costs are still going to go up. That's not going to stop. The tariffs are not making costs go up. What's making costs go up is that we have no money. We have no gold back in our dollars. We print money that is based on absolutely nothing but the faith that we have in the government. We lose faith in the government, there will be complete anarchy in the United States. All right, and none of the things we're talking about here today will matter. So the faith that we have in the government is what causes the Federal Reserve to be able to keep printing money, which causes the cost of your life to keep going up, and they're going to keep going up. What I suggest that you do, instead of hoping that costs go down, because they ain't going down, is instead increase the value that you bring to the marketplace so that you have more money, so that lowering value dollar can do more for you. That's the solution to the problem. The solution is not hope costs go down. The solution is make your money go up. That's the solution to the problem. Whether we're talking tariffs, inflation, who's president, or anything else, that's the actual solution. But a lot of people don't want to hear that because that requires you to actually do some work. Whereas if you hope prices go down, that means you're requiring somebody else to do the work. And if you want to get a really good idea of the angle from which I come when I work with people and what I do in my business, I just gave it to you right there. So anyway, let's continue. The tariffs. Everybody clear on the tariffs. All right. So that may make prices go up. The price of toothpaste goes up. I'm charging my customers more because the government is charging me more. Here's what I suggest all of you do. If you really want to get on the right side of that equation, is start a business to where you are doing the selling, not just the buying. Isn't that a novel idea? Start a business to where you are doing the selling, not just the buying. So when costs go up, you actually make more money instead of it costing you more money. It doesn't mean you won't still be a consumer. But I mean, Elon Musk, does he buy toothpaste? I guess. But he also makes money when people buy stuff. You need to be on the side of the equation. Everyone listening to me right now, you need to be on the side of the equation somehow, some way in your life where when people spend money, you make some money. Not just always being the spender of money, but also the earner of money when other people buy. So you want to be on the sales side, not just the buy side. And when I say the sales side, I don't mean just with your full-time employment. And I did an episode on my show probably 6 years ago where I said, in the future, everybody's going to be an entrepreneur. All of you listening to me right now, I suggest all of you be an entrepreneur in some way. I'm not saying quit your job. Start a side hustle if you want. Join a network marketing company if you want. Start a business on the side through the internet. You could do it through the internet these days. You don't even need money to start. Another thing, while I'm on the subject, Kamala Harris was saying, I'm going to give, I think she was saying black entrepreneurs. I think she specifically said black, but I think it applied to everybody. So it was a word game. That I'm going to give black entrepreneurs, what was it, $50,000 or $20,000 to start a business, because right now, she was saying right now you can get $5,000, but you can't start a business with $5,000. She was saying that and kind of asserting it as if it was true. It was complete bullshit. Kamala Harris is not an entrepreneur. She knows nothing about entrepreneurship. You do not need any money to start a business, especially in 2024. You need $0 to start a business. Any of you can start a business today and be profitable by the end of the day. You don't need $5,000 to start a business. You damn sure don't need $25,000 to start a business. Now, some businesses, of course, you need some money because you need the equipment, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't need $25,000 to start a business. That's nonsense. And she was pushing this as if it was true, and it made her sound like a complete fool. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Anyway, let me not get too deep in the weeds on any of these things. Let me continue. All right, now let's go on to Debunking the Lies. This is their website. I'm reading from Project 2025's website. Now they say debunking the lies. Okay, next part. All right, so now this is just true and false things that they say. We'll talk about a few of them as we go. So first of all, Project 2025 is a plan from Donald Trump. False. This is what the left pushed over and over and over again during this election cycle. That Project 2025 is Donald Trump's plan for if and when he wins the election. Donald Trump came out and said, Project 2025 is not his plan. He said he didn't know anything about it. And I think that was a little bit of a language game as well. I think he knew about it. Now, is this his exact plan? I say no. Did he know about it? I would say yes. Okay, so if you want to say, all right, there's a lie that Donald Trump told, cool. All right, fine. I'll give you that one. And now we got to go and do all the lies that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Barack Obama told too, if we're going to play that game, because they all lie. I already told you all that. All politicians lie. So if you think you got a gotcha moment because you named a politician that you don't like, lied. Well, what about the politician you do like? Because you can't name one who doesn't lie. They all lie. Or somebody said, well, Trump just lies more. No, they all lie. A lie is a lie. Like, when did this become a race? Lying is not a competition. If you're lying, you're lying. It doesn't matter if I lie 10 times, you lie 5. What does that make you like? You're half as bad as me? No, it depends on what you lied about and how often you told the same lie. But anyway, let's not even get into that. Let's not get into those weeds. So it's Project 2025, a plan from Trump. No, it is not. I agree with that. They said it's false. Right. Now, here are the things that people claim that Project 2025 is going to do. Number one, terminate the Constitution. False. Now, people try to pin this on Trump. Trump wants to terminate the Constitution. He wants to be a dictator on day one. He wants to stay president forever. And if you don't vote for Kamala this election, Oprah Winfrey stupidly said this. You don't vote for Kamala this election, we may never have another election again. This is the most important election of our lifetime. Everybody says that every election cycle. They've been saying that since 2000. This is the most important election of our lifetime. It said in 2000, 04, 08, 2012, 2016, 2020. They said it this time. In 2028, they're going to say it again. Remember that I told you this. Every election, they all say this is the most important election of our lifetime. Both sides say it. The Democrats say it. The Republicans say it. It's all nonsense. They're all just trying to get you excited to go do what they want you to do. It's just a sales pitch. So is Trump going to terminate the Constitution? No. We ain't got to talk about that. Next, give the government more power over your daily life. This is an important one. And they say, no, that is not what 2025 is going to do. I'm just call it 2025 instead of keep saying project every time. Kamala Harris and the left, the Democratic Party, they're the ones who want to they want us to vote for giving the government more control over our lives. Kamala Harris said it directly, even though she was claiming she was saying the opposite. She was actually saying the very thing. So think about the termination of pregnancies, the abortion thing, right? What Donald Trump did was put conservative judges on the Supreme Court so that Roe versus Wade got knocked down. So now, instead of abortion being a federal thing, it becomes a state level thing. So each state has its own laws when it comes to abortion, as opposed to being one federal law above everybody. What is that? That is taking away the federal government's power over the concept of abortion. He removed federal power by knocking down Roe versus Wade. That's what he did. Kamala Harris went and said during her campaign, this is her whole pitch. And a lot of people who don't understand the language games being played went and repeated this. They said, well, Donald Trump wants to have control over what a woman does with her body. No, he doesn't. He did the exact opposite of that. He removed control over what a woman does with her body and gave it back to the states. That's literally what he did. The federal government no longer has a say in what a woman does with her body, or that baby inside of her body, more accurately stated, because not really your body. You already did something with your body by conceiving in the first place. But the baby inside of your body, Donald Trump said, we don't want any power over that anymore. We're going to let the states control it. Kamala Harris said, I'm going to restore women's ability to do what they want to do with their body. But how is she going to restore it? First of all, she wouldn't have been able to do this because the Supreme Court is not going to overturn the decision that they just overturned 2 years ago. That wasn't going to happen, or 3 years by 2025. What she's saying is we're going to re-federalize the concept of abortion so that the federal government does have say over what you do with your body. The language game here is that we're going to make the federal government have say that you can do whatever you want. But the problem is it's the federal government controlling it. And as I've been emphasizing to you all for the last month, you do not want the federal government controlling anything or having say over anything that you do. You don't want the federal government in charge at all over anything. So this whole concept that Donald Trump and the right and MAGA and Project 2025 wants to have more control over your body is a complete non sequitur nonsense. Living Free, thank you for the rose. That's nonsense. What Donald Trump is trying to do is reduce federal power. He did it in 2016. He tried to reduce federal power, and he's trying to do it again through what he's saying he already did it by putting those judges on the Supreme Court. And it happened during Biden's administration, by the way. Nobody seems to ever mention that. But they're Trump judges that got appointed by Trump to reduce the amount of power the federal government has over your life. And this is why when people listen to me, some people say, well, Dre, it sounds like you voted for Trump. No. And it sounds like you voted for Kamala. No, I did a live on this. Vote for yourself was what I told you all in like a month ago. The whole point being that I have some friends down here in Miami who are heavily into politics, and they're actually libertarians. And when they listen to me talk about my stuff, they're like, Dre, you're actually a libertarian. And I don't know if that makes me a libertarian. I'm not I have no political affiliation. The point of it, all that being that what libertarians are really big on, those of you who know anything about them, is that they want small, limited government. And I'm a fan of that. So if that makes me somewhat libertarian, fine. I probably have views that touch on all points. I have some conservative views. I got some liberal views. I got some libertarian views, and probably some other ones that don't fit any of them. The point being, I don't want the government having more reach. You don't want the government having more reach. Again, we talked about this. Name one thing the government does really well and effectively. I would say the Department of Defense. I'll give you that one. Name something else. You don't want the government doing anything that has control over you. You don't want the government controlling anything else. You want them to reduce their power as much as possible. So this whole concept of giving the government more power is the Project 2025 plan. That is completely false. And again, if you listen to what Kamala Harris says, you listen to what Barack Obama said, what he did, look at what Joe Biden said, what he did. All right. It was removing the federal thing. Back when we had that virus, got to be careful how I talk about that virus. Back in 2020, Trump was still president in the first part of 2020, right? What Trump did was instead of making a federal mandate for what we had to do when it came to the mask on your face, when it came to the jab and all of that, he said, no, the federal government is not going to make a law about that. We're going to let each state individually decide. Let me ask you a question. Put the word me if you're happy that your state got to decide what happened when it came to that virus. I am. I live in the state of Florida. Shout out to our governor, Ron DeSantis. Put the word me in the chat if you're glad that you live in a state they got to make their own decisions as to what happened with that virus rather than the government telling you what you had to do when it came to that virus. Now, imagine if Joe Biden had been in charge, or Kamala Harris had been in charge, or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton had been in charge during that virus, and they made a federal rule about what you had to do. How you think that would have went? How you think that one would have went? So I'm glad, and Donald Trump, again, track record, ladies and gentlemen, look at what he's done. Forget about what they say. Look at what he's done. When the virus was around, and a lot of people have differing opinions on the virus, I'm really glad that when this happened, he said, well, I'm going to let each state decide what they want to do. And this is why, folks, a lot of people I know get excited about the federal elections like president. And I understand it. I'm leveraging it right now to draw attention to what I have to say. I'm talking about Donald Trump and MAGA because all of you have an opinion. But the most important elections are the local ones, folks. Those are the most important elections. See, because what Donald Trump is going to do is going to get a lot of attention and feedback. But is it really affecting you that much as what your local people are doing? No. What your local people do is really what's affecting you. So what all you need to be paying attention to is who is the governor of the state that you live in? What rules and laws are they passing? Who's on the Supreme Court of your state? Because every state has a Supreme Court too. And most of us, I consider myself guilty of this. I doubt there's anybody listening to this. Maybe one or two people listen to me talk right now who can name one justice on the Supreme Court of the state that you live in. But everybody gets all excited about the federal Supreme Court. Many cases get handled at the local level. They don't get all the way to the Supreme Court. You know how many courts you got to go through to get to the Supreme Court? A whole bunch of them. So the whole point being, y'all need to be looking at what's happening locally. Who's your governor? All right. Those are the people who get to make rules especially under a Trump presidency, because they get to say, all right, because Trump says we're not going to control it. Y'all control it. They get to make decisions. So who'd you vote for governor? Who's your mayor? Who's on your city council? When are the city council meetings? Have you ever been to a city council meeting? Do you even know who's on it and what they're doing and what they're voting on, what they're talking about? Y'all should know this stuff. Why? Because anything governmental is public knowledge, but you got to know about it. Now, I've never been to a city council meeting, but I know that they happen because I'm on the email list of people who are in the city council, and they send emails out. Hey, this is where the meeting is. This is what's happening. Here's what we're going to be talking about. You can watch it on Zoom if you want. You can come to the meeting if you want. Here's where it is. You can speak at this point. We're going to talk for this much time. Then we're going to have this much time for people to get up and speak. And everybody gets 2 minutes. You can literally go talk to these people if you want to. And this is what's happening at the local level. So you can't go talk to Kamala Harris, or you can't go testify in Congress unless they call you to. You can't just show up. Right? They don't have there's no open mic there. All right, what y'all need to be paying attention to is the local level, because especially with someone like Trump, and also if someone like Kamala had won, because y'all see people doing this with Trump, that a local governor or mayor will say something like, well, like let's say they're staunchly Democrat and they hate Trump. They'll say, well, whatever rule Trump makes, I'm not going to follow it. Y'all see people saying this? So there was a woman, I can't remember what state she was in, but when these announcements come out, how they're going to do with the illegal immigrants. She said that our city is now a sanctuary city. This is the thing that I don't know when this became a thing, a sanctuary city. So that means if you are here and maybe your documentation is not right, you can come to this city and we will not kick you out. We will not expose you to the federal government agents, and we're going to protect you. Basically, are protected. You can stay here and nothing's going to happen to you. And there are cities that are doing this, and they're all people who are just strongly against Donald Trump. So if you voted or didn't vote in your local election, and let's say you're a fan of sanctuary cities, you're a fan of someone who is here without proper documentation, you want them to be able to stay, but you didn't vote, and the governor in your state is a Republican who's loyal to Trump, well, those people ain't going to be able to stay. And on the other side, if you want people to be able to stay, and your governor or your local mayor is a Democrat who hates Trump, well, then those people get to stay in your city. Now, if they live next door to you, maybe you'll find out, maybe you'll think differently. The whole point being, what happens in your local elections matters a lot, because the federal government can only do but so much. They can't go to every single city and every single town and enforce every single law to the letter. We don't have the resources to do that. So what happens in your local space matters just as much, more actually, than what happens in the federal space. So let's continue. All right, we're talking government here from Project 2025. I'm reading straight from their website, project2025.org/truth. All right, these are the things they're saying about their own project. Gut democratic checks and balances on presidential power. They say that is false. First of all, a lot of people have been saying this about Donald Trump. This is the fear mongering about Trump, that if he wins the election, he is going to make it so that he has unchecked power and he's a complete dictator and he can do whatever he wants and nobody's going to be able to stop him. He's just going to run over everybody and he's never going to leave office and he's going to control things forever. All right, nonsense. We all know this is nonsense. We all know that's not going to happen. But it's the fear mongering that people use, even people who don't like Trump. I know some of you listening to me right now don't like Trump. Nobody actually believes this is what he was going to do or is going to do because he didn't even take office again yet. Nobody thinks he's going to be there in 2028 and be like, I refuse to leave. All right. Nobody believes that's going to happen. All right. He's going to be in his 80s by that point anyway. I think he'll be ready to leave. So anyway, this whole concept of he's going to do everything. All right. We have the system of checks and balances here in the United States. That's the reason why we have the presidency, that we have the executive branch, we have the judicial branch, and we have the legislative branch, also known as the president, the Supreme Court, and the Congress. All right, they check each other. All right, they hold each other accountable, so no one of them can run wild doing whatever it is that they want to do. That's the whole point. Now, this makes for a whole lot of heavy inefficiencies in the government, which is a different conversation. We touched on it a little bit here. We could do 3 hours just on that alone. Not going to do it here today. But no, Donald Trump and Project 2025, if you want to put them together, let's just assume that they are, all right, for purpose of argument, they are not going to remove, checks and balances. That's not a thing. And Trump does not have the power to do that. And let's remember, even though he won the election, Donald Trump still has a lot of enemies in Washington, D.C., both on the Democrat and Republican side. There's a bunch of Republicans who don't like Donald Trump. So how is he going to have unchecked power when he got all of these people trying to stop him from doing everything that he wants to do? It can't happen. He can only do so much. He can only work with people who are loyal to him, and everybody ain't loyal to him. At least half the country is against him. Those are known as Democrats. And then how many Republicans are against Donald Trump? What would you say out of 100% of Republicans, what percentage of Republicans don't like Donald Trump? I would say about 40%. Y'all give me a number. How many you think? Out of the Republicans, just the Republicans, what percentage of them don't like Trump, like anti-Trump Republicans? I would say about 40%. So how is it? And so I see 35%, 45, 20%. Based on what stats? It's not based on a stat. This is just an estimate. Based on how many you think. What percentage of Republicans do you think are against Trump? I see 60%, 30%, 70%. Well, what Fanny says, 0%? Oh, definitely not 0%. Either one, closed or open, doesn't matter. Yes, Republican. Yes, I meant politicians. Yes, okay, good clarifying question. I meant politicians, people who are in office and doing stuff. Politicians, not voters, but politicians. I would say a good 40% are against Trump. So how is he going to have unchecked power when half the country, Democrats, half the politicians don't like him? So he only got 50%. And then of the 50% that he is on their side, 40% of them don't like him. So how is he going to do all this stuff? It's impossible. He don't have the numbers to do it. So let's continue. Civil rights. Now, these are some good ones. Let's get to this. Civil rights. And again, I'm reading from Project 2025's website. We're fact checking Project 2025 or truth checking. I'd rather truth check, not fact check. Ban books and curriculum about slavery. False. They said false. We're not going to do that. There's nothing in their documentation that advocates for banning books or curriculum about slavery. Let me talk about this. This is specifically to the Black folks listening to this and to the allies of Black people listening to this. You might not be Black, but you consider yourself a supporter of Black people and Black people's plight or whatever language you've been taught at your liberal university you're supposed to say. All right. First of all, parents who are listening to this, if you want your children to know about the history of America, specifically Black Americans, that is not the school's responsibility. That is your responsibility. You're the parent. Anything you want your children to know, for sure, you absolutely want to make sure they know about it. It is your responsibility to make sure they learn it. You want your children to know how to read? That's your job. You want your children to know how to write? That's your job. You want your children to know more than one language? That's your job. You want your kids to know about the history of Black people in America and how it was bad, good, whatever way you feel about it. That is your job to make sure they know that. Any book, let's be clear, and this whole banning books thing is complete nonsense. First of all, if my mother wanted me to read a book and the book is not available in school, well, what the fuck is stopping her from buying it and having it at home? I don't understand this whole concept of banning books. Like, well, they won't allow books in school. So what? The only books you read in school are textbooks and the books that get assigned to you by the teacher. What about the books you read at home? Let me ask a question, parents. How many of you got your kids reading books outside of school? If you don't, that's on you. That's not on the school. That's your responsibility. This whole banning books thing is a complete non sequitur. It makes no sense. So they're banning books. Only way they can ban, they're not banning the book. You name any book that's banned, you can go on Amazon right now and find it. So how is it banned? It got banned at school. There's a whole lot of books you can't find at school. Just because the book is not at school doesn't mean you can't read it. So what are you saying, parents? That your kids only read books when they're at school? Well, that's a reflection on you, mom, dad. That's not a reflection on the school. That's a reflection on you. That's not a reflection on the governor or the president. That's a reflection on you. If your kids are not learning the things that you want them to learn and school's not teaching it, so then you're just throwing your hands up and doing nothing and blaming the government, bullshit. You are failing as a parent. We put that on the parents. So let me say it one more time, parents. You want your kid to read a book or have some information or have a specific knowledge set or skill set or a certain worldview or certain values. That is your responsibility as a parent or as parents. Hopefully it's two of you to teach that to your kids. That's not school's responsibility. And by the way, if you teach your kids a certain worldview at home and then they go to school and learn something different from that worldview, and then they come back home and now they're arguing with the worldview that you tried to teach them because of something that their teachers taught them, and you're upset that your kids don't even have your worldview, that's your fault for sending them to school in the first place. Who sent them there? They didn't just decide on their own that they were going to go to school. You sent them to school. So if you teach your kids a conservative point of view, let's say, for example, at home, then they go to school and some blue-haired teacher with pronouns in their bio, they teach your kids something else. Then now your kids come home and they start arguing with the worldview that you taught them since they were a child, and you're upset that your child doesn't even agree with you anymore. Who sent them to school? You did. This is the reason why I'm homeschooling my kids. My kids will be homeschooled. Why? Because I want my kids to have my worldview, and I'm not going to risk that worldview being tainted by some teacher at school. I don't care who the teacher is. And it doesn't have to be a certain type of teacher or from a certain background or a certain anything. Again, I live in Florida. Florida is generally a red state. We got a Republican governor. The county of Miami-Dade voted red. If I'm conservative, for example, then I might want to send my kids to a school in Miami, right? No, because I don't know who that teacher is, and I'm more qualified to teach my kids than any teacher on the planet. There's no teacher in the world who's more qualified to teach my kids than me. And that's not an opinion. That's just the reality, because I make the decision. So it's not really something that's up for debate. Now, some of you who are listening to this who are parents, maybe you don't consider yourself qualified. Okay, well, you need to figure that out. If you want your kids to have a certain worldview, you better have control of it. And y'all know the saying. If you want something done, you got to do it yourself, right? Everybody heard that before, right? So if you want your kids to have a certain way of looking at the world, then you better take control of that situation. How are you going to say you want your kids to look at things a certain way, then you send them to school and hope that the school does it? And then if the school doesn't do it, you mad at the school. Tell me how that makes sense. Somebody explain to me how that makes sense. Now, I went to school. My parents sent me to school. My mother has a background in education, but she sent me to school. But at the same time, and this is what I would suggest those of you who do send your kids to school, or you will send your kids to school, is you need to be up at that school to where the teachers know you, that when they see you coming, they know. All right, let me get my shit together and be ready, because this parent is for real. My mom was up at the school. My teachers knew who my mom was. She was up at the school all the time, and she would be talking to those teachers and finding out what was happening. If I was bad in school, she would know about it, and I knew I couldn't be bad in school because the teacher would tell my parents. Now, there are some parents out there who the teachers don't even know who you are. They don't even know what you look like. They saw you in Walmart. They wouldn't even know that your kid is in their class. I put that on you, parents. Any of you as a kid and your teacher doesn't know who you are, you can't be blaming the school for anything. That's what I said. Full accountability, folks. All right. This is accountability, especially those of you who are parents, because your kids they're going to be the next generation. And when you're too old to take care of yourself, hopefully they'll be in a position to take care of you. So what if they differ with your worldview? They want to vote for Harris, but you voted for Trump. How'd that happen? How did that happen? All right. Your teachers, especially at the elementary and I would say even through the middle school level, but especially elementary level, because that's when your kids' brains are most malleable and open to whatever they're being taught, because they don't have so many years of programming. If your teachers don't know who you are and you're sending your kids to school every day, I'm looking at you. I ain't looking at the school. I'm looking at you. How your teachers don't know who you are and your kids are in their class. You're not doing your job as a parent. I don't care how little money you make at work. I don't care how many hours you got to work. I don't care if you're a single parent. That's your child. What's more important than that? So this whole banning books thing is complete nonsense. Or they're going to ban books and they're going to ban curriculum about slavery. I don't give a fuck what the school does. If I want my kids to know about slavery, I'll teach them. I'll buy the books. I'll go on Amazon and buy every book I want my kid to read. And I'm going to tell my kid, you're going to read this book. And then we're going to have a conversation about it. The school doesn't have to do that. That's my job. Everybody get my point here? Have I said it enough? All right, let's continue. We're talking about civil rights here. I'm on the Project 2025. And someone said, let me respond to this comment real quick. Someone said, your child does better when they're present in school. You say when they're present or when you're present? Let me make sure I read that. When you are present. Okay, yes, I agree with that. Okay. If your kid is going to school. Now, those of you who are in position or you have decided to homeschool your kids like me, then you do it yourself. You're the school. All right, the school should be you. My kid's going to know everything he needs to know. And if I have more kids, they're going to know everything they need to know based on the things that I teach them. All right, not based on anything the school teaches, because I don't trust what the school is teaching. I'm just not a fan. Even though I'm a product of the educational system, and I guess you could say a success story, I say I'm a success story despite my education, not because of it. But anyway, we talked about that already in the past. You can watch that replay on YouTube, by the way. So anything I tell you I talked about before, folks, is go to my YouTube. All these lives are on YouTube. Y'all can watch them. So continue. Next one, continue to pack the Supreme Court and lower courts with right-wing judges. This is like one of the truth checks that Project 2025 says. They said this is false. We're not doing this. And they say, I agree with this. This is what they say. I'm reading from their site. The only people calling for packing the court are those on the left. That's anybody questioning that? Is anybody questioning that? I've never heard the right talk about packing the court. And those of you who don't know what packing the court means, it's this concept that people on the left have radically thrown out there. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has said this, that she said this right after, I believe it was Coney Barrett got appointed to the Supreme Court. And she leans conservative by Donald Trump. And Ocasio-Cortez, also known as AOC, she said, well, the only solution is we got to pack the court. Packing the court means instead of the Supreme Court being 9 justices, they say, well, let's make it bigger. Let's make it 10 or 11 or 15 justices. And basically the concept is let's make more seats on the Supreme Court and then put more liberal justices on there. So basically to give the majority back to the liberals. That's a radical position. And I only hear people on the left saying that. I've never heard anybody on the right say we need to expand the number of seats on the Supreme Court, because let's be clear, Supreme Court's been around for a long time. There have been times when the liberals had a majority. There have been times when the conservatives had a majority. I never heard the conservatives say, well, we need to expand the court so we can get control again. I only hear the people on the left saying that. I've never heard anybody on the right say that. And they're saying with lower courts as well, which most people don't pay that much attention to. So this one, we ain't got to spend that much time on. I only hear people saying it on one side. And you even hear people saying it now. Now that Trump has won, people are saying, well, and this is the whole thing with Kamala and the abortion thing, is that they may be able to change the abortion thing, even though they just knocked it down 2 years ago, because new justices may take spots on the Supreme Court, because there are a couple of justices who are older, like Clarence Thomas is older. They may retire. Sotomayor, who was left, appointed by, I believe, Obama, they may leave the court, and then they're going to be open spots. So if Kamala had won, she could put some liberals in those spots. Well, Sotomayor is liberal, but they can replace Clarence Thomas, for example, who is a black conservative guy, with a liberal person, and that can kind of start quote unquote balancing the court a little bit more. First of all, just because a justice got appointed by a certain president does not mean that every decision they make is going to be for the Republicans or for the Democrats. It's a non sequitur, simply because of fallacious concept, because a judge is supposed to judge things based on the law. Now, of course, the law can be interpreted in multiple ways. You can interpret it with a liberal leaning, you can interpret it with a conservative leaning, but the whole point of the court, the whole point of the Supreme Court, is that they're interpreting the law based on a certain set of principles. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, again, I will give you that more conservative justices will interpret things on a conservative angle and liberal on a liberal angle. But it's not like if Donald Trump puts a bunch of conservatives on the Supreme Court that he can just run roughshod over the country and the Supreme Court's just going to let it all be okay. That's not going to happen. But people seem to have that idea as nonsense. That's not true. So this whole concept of, well, then Kamala could put somebody else. And this is the other thing they said after Trump won. They said, well, Sotomayor, who's older and I believe she has some type of medical issue, they were saying, well, Sotomayor should retire and then Joe Biden should appoint Kamala to take her spot on the Supreme Court as a kind of like a balance out for her losing the election. And I'm like, that's completely radical bullshit, childish way of looking at things. First of all, I don't believe Kamala is qualified to be on the Supreme Court. I don't care if she was a prosecutor. There's 1,000 prosecutors in America. It doesn't make you qualified to be on the Supreme Court. Secondly, if the Democratic Party was to do that, that would be complete. I don't know if there's anything Trump did that would equal to that if they even tried that. Third, the only person who can appoint someone else, actually third, is Sotomayor said she's not leaving. So it kills the whole issue from the beginning. Fourth, the only person who can appoint a new person to the Supreme Court right now would be Joe Biden. And let me ask you a question. Do you think Joe Biden is going to do Kamala Harris a favor? I'll take the bet. I'll take all bets on that. Any of you think Joe Biden is going to do Kamala Harris a favor? Joe Biden ain't doing shit for Kamala Harris or for the Democrats, period. So that ain't happening. So that wouldn't happen even if it could, but that I don't think it's going to occur. And Joe Biden will be in control of that. And Joe Biden mess around and put a conservative on the court just to screw the Democrats on his way out the door. But I don't think any of that's going to happen at all. So let's continue. All right. So we did the Supreme Court thing, ending civil rights. I don't even know what this means. So this is another thing that people have said that Trump's going to do or Project 2025 is going to do is end civil rights. I don't think so. Anybody think civil rights is going to get ended because Trump won? Okay. Nobody thinks that. So let's move on. Next. All right. This one is one we need to talk about. Ending DEI protections in the government. So they're doing basically a true or false. Their answer is, what do I think the answer is? So this is a true or false, that Project 2025 wants to end all DEI protections in the government. True or false? What do y'all think? True or false? And this is them talking themselves. Do they say that this is true or do they say that it's false? They're going to take diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they're going to end it when it comes to the government. What do y'all think? True or false? A bunch of people saying true. The answer is true. Project 2025 admits true. They want to do this, that they want to end DEI protections in the government. What does that mean? So let's read what it says. It says, we advocate for the end of divisive, race-based, and anti-American propaganda, such as diversity, equity, and inclusion in the federal workforce. What I say about this, I agree. Now, let me tell you why I agree. The reason why I agree, because there are a bunch of people in here, white people and black people, who say, Dre, you're black. Why would you be against diversity, equity, and inclusion? Let me answer that question. Answer is, first of all, my background, I already told you all, is I'm a former professional athlete. I come from the sports world. And the sports world, the diversity, equity, and inclusion is based on your performance. It is not based on immutable characteristics like you're a boy, you're a girl, you're the T thing, you're attracted to this gender or that gender, or the color that you are. In the sports world, you are only as good as your performance. So you can't get on the basketball team just because, hey, we got a bunch of black guys on the team, so let's get a white guy on the team. That never happens. You've never seen that in sports. We got a bunch of black guys, so we need to add a white person just to balance it out. That's not a thing. Now, maybe somebody does that silently, but does that really happen in sport at the pro level? Hell no. There's a basketball team. They got a bunch of guys who are all 6'5" and taller. Hey, we got to get a guy who's under 6 feet just to balance it out for diversity. That doesn't happen. Our equity, this concept of equity, that everyone will end up in the same place. Kamala Harris, in a big way, espoused this. This is nonsense. There will never be equity as long as you have human beings. Why? Because human beings make their own decisions. So even if you put everybody at the same spot at the same time, we will all end up in different places. Like, for example, we talk about reparations for black people in America. So let's say every black person in America who could prove that they're a descendant of slavery got $1 million check from the government, or 10 million or 100 million, whatever. Let's say all of us got $1 million check from the government. You know what will happen within about 5 years? It would take less than 5 years. Let's just say 5. You know what happened within 5 years? All the people who were broke or poor before they got that check will be broke and poor again. And all the people who were rich and doing good before they got that check will be rich all over again. Why is this? Because of human choice. All right. If you give me $1 million and give you $1 million, just cash. All right. We're not going to be in the same place 3 years from now, because I'm going to make different decisions with my million than you're going to make with your million. You cannot manufacture equity. It's impossible. So this whole concept of equity is a complete farce. It sounds good because you can sell it to people, but it's a complete farce. You cannot manufacture equity. You cannot make people equal. Impossible. And inclusion. Again, I just explained this to you. I come from the sports world. We don't include people on the sports team. Sports are exclusive by design. Sports are exclusive. You know what makes I went to college. Any of you went to college and you knew anybody who played on the sports team, like a sports team that was prominent on your campus, like the football team, the basketball team. Maybe you had a good soccer team or softball team. You know what made the basketball team a thing when I was in college? The reason the basketball team was a thing is because not everybody could be on the damn basketball team. That's why being on the basketball team mattered. The prestige of being on the team was in the reality that not everybody could be on it, or the football team. What makes the football team a thing to be a part of is that not everybody can be on it. That's the thing. So this whole concept of inclusion, everybody getting a seat at the table. All right, if I'm sitting at a table that everybody can have a seat at, that table's not that valuable. That's the thing. If I'm sitting at a table that everybody can sit at, that's cool for the people who couldn't otherwise earn their way onto a table. But I want to sit at a table that not everybody can sit at. All right, when I get on a plane and I'm sitting in first class, the reason I like sitting in first class is because there's only like 12 seats in first class. Not everybody can sit in first class. I like the exclusivity of being part of that. Now, I also like the people I can meet. I like the leg room because I'm 6'4". I like the leg room. I like the food that I get. I like the service that I get. I like getting the points and the perks and all of that stuff. The point is the exclusivity matters. People want to be part of something that not everybody can be a part of. They say that men over the age of, I think it was 35, that they said like 2% of men over the age of 35 can run a mile in under 8 minutes and have a six-pack, a visible six-pack abs. So any man who has both, that's valuable simply because not every man has it. All right, that's what makes it valuable. It's not just the fact that you did it yourself, it's the fact that you know that everybody else can't have it. All right, one of the things that makes it valuable to have as a man, to have a beautiful woman on your arm is the fact that a whole bunch of men want that woman, but you got her. Or you have a nice car. You see on social media, people show off their cars or their houses, or they're flying and they got a nice suit, or they got some nice shoes. One of the things that make those things valuable is that a lot of people want them. Not everybody can get them. All right. So you see somebody driving a luxury car. What makes the luxury car a thing is not that the car can get you from point A to point B any faster than a Honda or a Toyota or a Kia, is the fact that you have that car. Not everybody can get that car. So this whole concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm just not a fan of the concept itself. I believe it is the antithesis of high performance. High performers don't want handouts. High performers want to earn it from zero. You can even put me behind and give everybody else a head start. I'd rather earn it that way because it's worth something. See, what makes for a man, I'm speaking from a man's perspective, what makes the things that a man achieves valuable is the fact that not every man can do it. Men have strong egos. We have drives via testosterone. I want to be able to do things that another man can't do. I want to have things that other men can't have. I want to say things about myself and to have true about myself that other men can't have about themselves. I can't speak from the woman's perspective. But this whole concept of DEI, I've never been a fan of it from the time that I first heard of it, for these reasons that I'm telling you here. Again, in the sports world, you have to earn it and you got to beat your opponents, even if your opponent has a head start that you don't have. So when I'm playing sports, let's say some kid has been playing the sport longer than me and his dad played the sport and his best friend is the coach and he gets all the handouts and all the perks to make it easy and it's set up for him to be successful. And I had none of that. Beating him means more than if I was in his position and he beat me. Like, if he beats me, what did he prove? Nothing. He was already ahead of me and he already had all the advantages that I didn't have. But if I beat him, what does that mean? It means everything, because I went and took a losing situation and turned it into a winning situation. Only way you can be a champion in life is you got to be in a situation that looks like a defeat and you turn it into a victory. So this whole concept of give me a handout just because I'm quote unquote marginalized is bullshit. It's a feminine way of thinking. So again, that's why I said I'm speaking from the men's perspective. I can't speak for the females. It's a feminine way of thinking. Give me a handout because I'm black, so that means I'm behind the white people. So give me a boost so I can catch up to the white people. No, let me catch up to them leave me where I'm at. And let's just compete and let's find out. The longer the race goes, the better chance I'm going to win. That's my mindset. And that's the framework from which I do things. That's the framework from which I work with people. So ending DEI protections in government, good. I say that's a good thing. Go ahead and do it. And that's Project 2025 says that's what they advocate for. Again, Project 2025 and Donald Trump are not correct. They're not connected. So they said that this is not his plan. They do think tanks. I already explained that. Let me get through a couple more of these. We might have to do a separate, I might do a separate live and talk about this a little bit more. So should I do a separate live in the future to talk about this more? Because there's a lot more on here that I didn't even get to. And we're not going to get to it all today because I'm going to do comments in a second. And let's do a couple more. promote and expedite capital punishment. So capital punishment means using the death penalty for certain reasons. They say yes, that they are going to do the death penalty. So TMN62, on TikTok said, I'm conceited. You spelled the word wrong, but I get what you're saying. You're right. I am conceited. You're right. I agree with you. No, so I don't know if you meant that as an insult, but it's actually a compliment. So promote and expedite capital punishment. So they say true. They do advocate for this. They say we call for the enforcement of the federal death penalty where appropriate and applicable, and recommends a presidential administration pursue the death penalty for the most heinous of crimes, including violence and I don't want to say that term, of children, unless Congress says otherwise through legislation. I'm fine with that. That one I'm fine with. I'm not against the concept of the death penalty, capital punishment for whatever, if someone commits a heinous crime. So there are things we didn't get to yet. Let me see. Marriage and family, when it comes to, there's a lot of things under marriage and family, a lot of things under healthcare, a lot of things under the economy. We didn't even get to all these things. So I think I'm going to do Project 2025 Part 2. All right. So I'm going to do a Part 2 on this. I'll take questions and comments. I don't really have points here. I just went through things. And by the way, I got this from project2025.org. This is their website /truth. Okay. So this is where I'm reading from here today. These are not my points. I'm just reading straight off their website. They basically truth checked their own stuff and the things that people say about them. So that's what I'm reading from. Tomorrow, here's what we're going to do, because tomorrow's Thursday and then Friday. So tomorrow I'm going to do Part 2 on this very subject, because we didn't talk about, they got one thing on the military, which we don't really need to talk about. They got a whole section on marriage and family with several things like divorce, marriage equality, contraceptives, IVF. So we got to talk about that. And then they got healthcare, which is a whole bunch of things. And then they have the economy. Then they have immigration. So it's even more immigration. So we're not going to get to all that here today. We'd be here forever. So tomorrow I'm going to do Part 2. And then Friday, we're going to do Make America Healthy Again and RFK and all that stuff. We're going to get to that tomorrow. Let me now just get to the comments, and then we'll wrap this up. So I'm going to start over on YouTube. I'm going to come to TikTok last because y'all got the most comments. So TikTok, I'm going to come to y'all guys. Let me do YouTube first. Mike Lowry, thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, dog. Good to see you again, sir. He said, this is another reason to abolish the DOE. The average American can't comprehend what you're conveying. Can't have grievances with tariffs unless you understand trade. Exactly. A lot of people don't understand it. And the thing is, as Old Dog over here on YouTube said, everything has a trade-off, folks. So if there are tariffs, that's going to move more companies to move their manufacturing maybe to America, because it's hurting them cost-wise, which means more jobs for Americans. So if I'm sell toothpaste, as I said, and let's say I had 100 employees working in Miami, I got a toothpaste factory, and I decide, well, you know what, I'm gonna move all my manufacturing to Brazil because it's cheaper to hire people in Brazil, and I could pay them half as much, so I get to keep more money. So now all 100 people working in Miami got fired because I don't manufacture here anymore. Everybody's in Brazil. Well, if I got to pay that tariff and it's hurting my pockets, well, I might move my manufacturing back to America and give 100 people a job. So that's the trade-off. The trade-off of the countries manufacturing their products outside of the United States is that there are fewer jobs for Americans in the United States. So this whole America first thing, Trump has been honest about this from the very beginning. So how people are acting like surprised and incredulous over this concept is beyond me. Actually, it's not beyond me. As O-Dog said, most people simply don't read and they don't understand. If you had just listened to him 10 years ago, he told you exactly what he was going to do. And again, everything has a trade-off. So it's not like this is good or bad, just a trade-off. O-Dog said, me, Texas, stand up. Yeah, shout out to Texas. Michael Moreno said, this shows my algorithm of leftism is dying. Fucking awesome. Michael said, I'm in Chicago. We already told Johnson we are going to appoint when they come. For the record, we want them to come. Johnson is the mayor, right? Yeah, the mayor's in Chicago. I don't know how y'all be electing these people. So who's that woman y'all had before that? Who was the mayor in Chicago? That woman right before she got voted out. What was her name? What was that woman's name who was the mayor of Chicago who just got voted out for? She got voted out for a different black guy, but he's just as radical as she was. Yeah, that chick. Lightfoot. Yes, Lori Lightfoot. That woman's crazy. How did y'all vote for her, Chicago? Michael, please explain to me how Chicago voted for her as the mayor, and somebody called her Beetlejuice. But then they replaced her with a black guy, but he's just as radical. He ain't no different. He's basically saying the same stuff. So anyway, Leanna said, way to lead men in America. Thank you. Thriving said, comments are a lot better here. Yes, they are. You got a better chance of getting seen on any on TikTok. You really want to make sure I see your comment. You should probably come over to YouTube. Is less traffic. But I'm gonna get to TikTok. I'm gonna get to y'all anyway. I'm gonna still get to it. I just can't get to every single comment because it's too many. Colin said, "There's really only two ways to compete with the country that starts with the letter C." I gotta be careful saying them because I'm on TikTok. Use tariffs or compete with them in the free market, which means child labor and exactly. So let me read what Colin just said again because I want y'all to understand this. He said there's only two ways to compete with other countries that manufacture for cheaper because first of all, y'all gotta understand the cost of living. Any of you ever lived in another country, y'all know this. The cost of living in America is high compared to other countries. In other countries, the cost of living is very low. So I have staff who work for me who live in the Philippines. The cost of living in the Philippines is so low compared to America that I could get somebody in America. Let's say I want to have an assistant who works for me who lives in America. They need $20, $25, $30 an hour to do the same work that if I hire somebody in the Philippines, they could do it for $10 an hour. And those costs matter. That's triple the cost, double or triple the cost. So in these other countries, this is the reason why American companies move their manufacturing outside of the USA because they can get it done for a lot less money and they get to keep money. This is capitalism. This is how it works. So the only way we can compete with these other countries is we get in the free market and we would have to start basically paying people basically nothing. And this is the argument because all this stuff links together. This is the argument people have for, well, you should allow immigrants in the country who don't have proper documentation because they'll do work for cheap. And therefore you have American work, but it's not really American work because they're not Americans. They're not documented. So it's a very complex thing. And I want y'all to understand that when you get to talking about federal government and the things that these people do, it's a very complex situation. It's not some black and white, well, just do this and that solves all the problems. If that was the case, then they would have been solved a long time ago. It doesn't work like that. So anyway, let's see what we got over on. Okay, now we come into Instagram, then we'll go over to TikTok. Seeing what we got in the comments section. And we're talking about Project 2025. It's going to be a two-part series because it's too much on the page for me to get to it all today. Tomorrow we'll get to the second half. Jeb Blunt Jr., what's going on? Good to see you, my dude. Jeb said proper documentation is, yeah, people have been saying that. Proper documentation is racist. No, it's not. I mean, you got to have documents. I mean, you can't go to another country. Any of you ever travel to another country? You can't just walk around there with no documents. You can't even get on a plane with no documents. And then when you get there, they check your documents. Any of you ever flown to another country? In order to get out of the airport, you got to go through customs. And when you go through customs, they say, let me see your passport. Give me the little card that you had to write down why you're coming here, how long you're going to be here. Did you bring anything with you, like food, et cetera, et cetera? And then when you give your stuff to the customs agent, what do? They start asking you questions. Like they basically verify everything you said on the card. Why are you here? Are you here for a conference? How long are you going to be here? Are you here to see your friend? You're going to be here for 3 months? Okay. And did you bring anything with you? And they kind of like, they basically trying to see if you're lying. That's what they're doing. All right. That's what they do when you go to any other country. And when you come here, when you come back from another country, let's say you travel to somewhere in Europe and you come back to America, the customs agent will ask you questions. How long were you there? What did you do? Did you bring anything with you, like food or anything like that? Anything you're bringing into the country? Did you bring any food or anything back with you? And they basically check and make sure. Why? Because countries are enforcing their borders. They don't just let people walk in. Only in America are we just letting people walk in without vetting them. That's the only country in the world we're allowing this to happen. So C. Simpson said, yeah, all through California. Yes, correct. I go live on 7 different platforms every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. All right, so YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Rumble, X, Instagram, TikTok. I think that's all of them. So I'm live everywhere. So any of you, wherever you're following me, follow me in more than one place, please. Darius said, many things shape worldviews for children, not just teachers and parents. Well, as a general point, yes, you're correct. But the most important worldview shaper is the parents, because the parents get the most time around the kids and they have the most control over what the kids consume. If I want my kid to be on the phone, they won't be on the phone. If I want my kid to listen to rap music, they won't listen to it because I'm in control. Crespo said, I was 100% up in the school. That's right. And parents should be present in school. That's correct. Darius said, you're wrong about the DEI. No, I'm not. Darius said, I play football and basketball. I can attest that there are people on the bench who are better than the starters. Welcome to life, Darius. I'm not saying that that's not true. Welcome to life. And who's the judge of who's better? You? But you don't have any control. So if you think guys on the bench were better than the guys playing in the game, who cares what you think? You have no power. See, this is how life works. You need to read my favorite book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Your personal opinion doesn't matter if you don't have the power to do anything about your opinion. There's a guy who says this all the time. Is that bald-headed guy from that country that starts with the letter R who got banned off all the social media, who used to be a kickboxer. You know who I'm talking about? That guy. Somebody put his name in the comments. He talks about this all the time. I talk about it too. Your opinion only matters if you got the power to enforce and defend your opinion. So if you're playing on a basketball team, for example, and you're sitting at the end of the bench and you think you're better than the guys who are in the game, who the fuck cares what you think? You ain't got no power. You don't have power to put yourself in the game, do you? Okay, so you thinking that you're better than the guys on the court doesn't matter because you can't do anything about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to understand, freedom is not free. All right. Your opinion only matters. You got the power to do something about it. This is why we have voting in America. All right. You got the power to vote so you can let people know what you think. But if you don't have the power to enforce what you believe, who cares? I mean, you can say it, you get on social media and talk, but who cares? And I'm not saying it specifically to you, Darius. I'm talking to everybody, but so what? You got an opinion. What is your opinion worth? And can you do anything about or with your opinion is the question that actually matters. And by the way, you share your opinion strongly enough, loudly enough, and people don't like it enough, then they'll do to you the same thing they did to that kickboxer that I just mentioned. You saw what they did to him, right? Okay. Y'all saw what they did to Kanye, right? Y'all saw what they try to do to Donald Trump. Now you see what they do to people who say too much of things that they don't like too loudly and too often. They will do something to you. So the trade-off of having a strong opinion and it actually making a difference is that they come for you. And this is the reason why many people have opinions, but they keep it quiet. Because there's a trade-off to everything, folks. There are no free lunches in life. So Darius said, because of favoritism, they didn't get a chance to play. Welcome to life. Happens to everybody. Darius said, it sounds good, but the high performers don't always get the opportunity for a variety of reasons. I tell you why you're wrong about that. It's not even that I disagree. You're 100% incorrect. I played on sports teams where I felt like I was better than whoever, but I wasn't getting the playing time. In sports, here's the good news about sports. You are not stuck on that team. You go play on another team. You go find a different team. So if you're not getting any playing time on team A, leave team A, go play for team B. And if you're actually as good as you say you are, go to team B or C, D, E, or F, and you go to all the teams in the alphabet. If you don't get any playing time on all those teams, then maybe you got to look in the mirror. Maybe you're not as good as you think you are. Now, if you actually are good, when you leave team A, B, and C and get on team D, then you should finally prove that you can fucking play. But if you go to all the teams and you never get a chance to play, well, it's probably because you can't play. At some point, you got to look in the mirror. So this is the masculine frame. This is the work on your game ethos. That at some point you have to look in the mirror. Yes, other people may fuck up. Other people may be bad. Other people may be hateful, deceitful, nasty, do something they weren't supposed to do, go against the grain of what you agreed to. At some point, you have to look in the mirror and you got to take ownership of the situation, because what you don't own, you can't control. What you can't control, you cannot change. So this whole concept of, those of you who don't know me, my background's in sports. So when I first got on the internet back in the day, 2000, I started publishing content in 2005. And from 2005 to 2015, most of my content was basketball related. So I have a lot of athletes and former athletes who know me from back then. And I would get athletes all the time coming to me and their parents coming to me saying, my child or me, I'm very good, but I'm not getting the opportunity. And I would always tell them the same thing I'm telling you all. I get it. Maybe you're right. Maybe the coach is hating on you. Maybe you are better than the coach's son who is starting above you. Maybe your teammates don't like you and they won't pass you the ball. Maybe you are 100% correct. However, at some point, your career is going to be over. So what are we going to put on your tombstone? Oh, I would have been a good basketball player, but the coach was hating on me. All right, nobody gives a fuck. All right, what did you actually achieve? This is a performance-based business. It's not a story-based business. It's a performance-based business. Your performance is what you get judged by. You are judged by your outcomes, not by your story. Your story only matters if you produce. Notice people who get to tell their stories are people who have produced things. Everybody in the world has a story. Everyone listen to me. All of you have a story. Your story only matters when you've achieved enough to where people care about your story. If you haven't achieved anything, nobody wants to hear your story. Doesn't mean you don't have one. People just don't care. Elon Musk, you want to know his story? Yes. Why you want to know Elon Musk's story? Because he has created results. He's created outcomes. Why do you want to know Donald Trump's story? Because of his outcomes. Why do you want to know Michael Jordan or LeBron's or Ronaldo's story? Because of their results. Not because they have a story, but because they produce results. Results make your story matter. So any of you ever gone to a conference and you've seen a motivational speaker speak? How'd they get on the stage? by producing something. Your production is what puts you in position to tell your story. Until you produce, nobody gives a damn about your story or your sob stories, like kind of what Darius is alluding to here. Darius said, ideally, you're correct. We don't live in a perfect world. When did I ever say we live in a perfect world? We live in a very imperfect world with a bunch of imperfect beings known as humans. So you got to learn how to navigate. All right. That's the mental toughness part of this. Nigel, what's going on? Good morning. Darius said, DEI is in place for people who have the power will keep whoever they want in power. Well, the good news about that is that we live in a very wide world, Darius. So if you're not getting the power that you want in place A, go to place B. You can't get it in place B, go to place C. Can't get it in place C. How about you stop going to places and start your own thing and stop bitching about what everybody else is not doing for you? That's what I say to anybody who's saying, well, that's why we need DEI. Any of you can start a business right now. What's stopping you? Any of you can start a business right now, and guess who the boss is? You are. You ain't got to. Why you complaining about your boss? You be the boss. Now, again, do you want to take the ownership of being a boss? Because see, the trade-off of being a boss is that everything's on you. The trade-off of being an employee is that somebody else has control. So which one do you want? I'm just using this as an example. So if you don't like what the boss is doing, okay, stop working for that boss. Make yourself the boss. What's stopping you? Your fear of having the responsibility, your fear of having ownership, your fear of being completely in control. Well, see, that's the trade-off. Everything in life has a trade-off, ladies and gentlemen. You want to be under somebody else's control. They get to do what they want to do, and you are subject to what they decide to do because they're in control. They're the boss. Dame Dash, who used to be Jay-Z's business partner, this is what he said. The boss is the one who puts up the risk. I mean, that's just by definition. An entrepreneur, by definition, is the person who runs a business entity while putting up greater than normal risk. You're not willing to take on risk. You ain't built to be a boss. Therefore, you had to do what the boss says. And if you don't like what the boss says, well, you got a problem. What do you want? You want the problem of having to listen to a boss? Or you want the problem of being a boss? Both of them got problems. What's that song by Puff Daddy? More money, more problems. All right. More responsibility, more problems. So do you want the responsibility or do you not? All right. This is a choice. And if you don't make a choice will be made for you. Darius said, regardless of accolades, so it's not about who's the best. In the business world, you're correct. In the sports world, again, this is why I framed it this way. I come from the sports world. In the sports world, the best performers get the best outcomes. That's how it works in the sports world. The business world is not a meritocracy. It is about politics. It is about connections. It is about strategy. That's what the business world is about. That's why we say political. When we say an environment is political, that's what we mean. It's about who knows who likes who, and how you can navigate that world. If you don't like dealing with corporate and office politics, get the hell out of the game. If you're in the game, this is what you're signing up for, whether you like it or not. That's the way life works. And if you want a complete, straight up meritocracy, become an athlete. All right. The sports world is the closest thing to a meritocracy you will ever get. Who's the richest basketball player of all time? Michael Jordan. Right? Is that close to a meritocracy? He's the best player. Who's the next best player? Many people will say LeBron. LeBron is like right there after him when it comes to money made. See, in meritocracies, the best people usually end up at the top. In other worlds, it doesn't work that way. And if you don't like the politics, get the hell out the game. This is how it works, folks. I didn't know this was news to any of you. Maybe it is. But anyway, Darius said, trust me, I'm the boss of my own life, but I'm all for addressing the issue. Well, good. We just addressed it. So let me see what we got on TikTok. Questions and comments. Let's see. Big Sam said, that is not the trade-off. If it's cheaper to do it out of America, they will continue to do so. Not necessarily, because now with the tariffs, it could necessarily become less cheap. And also there are people out there who want to buy a product that was manufactured in America. There are people out there who care about giving jobs to Americans. So again, it's not black and white. None of these things, especially when it comes to the federal government, are black and white answers. None of them are black and white. Everything connects to something else. So there's no one right answer or wrong answer. T. Cole said, how do you use listening to someone as an example of needing to read? They are not the same. I don't know what you're referring to there. I need more context to your comment. Paul says, not that they don't read, is that they are biased and inherently dishonest. So when I say people don't read, what I mean is responding to Paul's comment, is that a lot of people they listen to the rhetoric being spouted, but they don't really dissect what exactly is this person saying. Is what they're saying actually accurate? What Harris was saying was the exact opposite of what she was actually aiming to do. So it was crazy that she was saying it. So if you got a question or comment on TikTok, post it now, because there's so many to come through that they cut it off, so I can't see it all. So all right, I'm on TikTok. Writing of the damn said, imagine voting for the bloated orange and not believing The one thing he said the most, LOL. Well, you can imagine it. I didn't say I voted for anybody. I said vote for yourself. America Spoke said, glad I'm in Florida. Me too. Shout out to Florida. It's beautiful in Florida. Let's see. Tiny Tank says, I like how you are fair and call out both sides. Thank you. S. Fitz said, I don't know what you're referring to. You mentioned that country. I gotta be careful saying countries' names. Mimi said, I give some gems. Thank you. Tico said, why everybody keeps supporting an app that makes you censor yourself is carrying over into life. Well, because if I didn't use this app, then you wouldn't know who I was. And the other apps might be censoring me too. They just don't do it as outwardly. At least on some apps, they are honest about it. Other apps, they do it quietly. They call it shadow banning. Over here, at least they tell you when they're doing it. So I can at least respect that. And I just said this. Tico just explained this. If you get on somebody else's land, then you got to play by their rules. That's how it works. Do you live in America? All right, America has rules. If you don't like the rules, leave. But you got to follow the rules. That's how it works. So if I'm going to use Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, they have rules. And if I violate the rules, then they can do something. That's how it works. If you don't want to follow somebody else's rules, get off of their land. Just like our parents used to say to us back in the day. I don't know how all of you were raised, but our parents would say to us, right, when you live in my house and I'm the one paying the bills, you follow my rules. And if you don't want to follow the rules, then you get a job, you move out, and you can do whatever you want to do. Did y'all parents say that to you or something that sounded like that? Social media ain't no different. You're on somebody else's land. They can do what they want. If you don't want to censor yourself, get off the app. That's the rules. I know the rules because I've been subject to the rules. So I know what happens. Baby Neil said, bring it all back and prices will go up. Well, prices are going to go up either way. Prices are going to go up no matter what. Y'all understand that Trump said he was going to impose tariffs, right? So let's assume there were no tariffs. There are already tariffs, but let's assume there were none. Aren't prices already going up? Trump is not making prices go up, ladies and gentlemen. Prices are going to go up no matter what. Even if Trump wasn't around, prices would still be going up. So people are like, and Mark Cuban, again, he put his foot in his mouth and made himself look stupid. He kept talking about how Trump's tariffs are going to destroy things. Like, dude, there are already tariffs, number one. And number two, prices are already going up. Prices went up during Obama. They went up during Trump. They went up during Biden. They're going to go up again during Trump again. Not because of Trump, not because of any of the presidents. Prices just go up. America has no money. Do y'all understand this? America is in debt, $35 trillion. Where do you think the money's coming from? They're just making it up out of thin air. They're literally making it up. The Federal Reserve Bank, not federal, no reserves, not a bank. Watch my live where I talked about this, folks. I explained this all to you. DJ Mixie said, what are your resources for the information on a 1,000-page project 2025 that goes to each president? Well, this doesn't go to each president. The 1,000-page project 2025 is on their website. They put it out there and they let you read every single thing. They let you read all of it if you want. And they have a truth check page. I like that I like calling it truth check, not fact checking. Mimi said you were talking about trade-offs. Everything in life has a trade-off. Any of you name something, I'll tell you what the trade-off is in case you didn't know. People need to stop paying higher prices. It comes down to supply and demand. Well, if everybody raises the price of toothpaste, what you going to do, Tico? Not buy it? And I would say that's not the solution, is to not pay higher prices. As a general rule, in my experience, you can tell me if you see it different. As a general rule, the higher the price of things, generally they're higher quality. That's not always the case, but generally higher quality things they cost more money. And if you just stop buying higher price things, you just buy the cheap stuff. Okay, well, welcome to Walmart. How can I help you today? If you want to buy from Walmart, go ahead, buy from Walmart. But you get what you pay for. Everybody's heard that phrase before, right? It's not a lie. You get what you pay for. So what I suggest to all of you is not complain about prices. Instead, ask yourself, how can I make more money so that price is not stopping me from living how I want to live? That's what the actual frame you need to be using. Not complaining about how much things cost. And no matter how much money you have, everybody knows how much things cost. And nobody wants to just spend more and more money. But yes, the solution is not hoping that prices go down or looking for cheaper stuff. That's not the solution. Well said, your definition of DEI is incorrect. I didn't give a definition of DEI. I just named the three terms and told you why I'm against the way they're implemented. I did not define it. Mimi said there's a gray area. Well, most things in life have a gray area, but what are you referring to? I'm reading the comments on TikTok, so you got something. Go ahead. Paige said you have to be legal. That's correct. Ozzy said I can't even pay for my phone without ID. What do you mean? I can pay my phone bill without ID and check my ID when I pay that bill. Now, if I don't pay it, they turn the phone off. I do know that. Chris said they do that just going to Hawaii. They want to know why you're going. What do you mean? Inside the United States? Maybe you're referring to in the USA. I'm talking about when you're coming in and out of the country. D Queen said, I was held in custody because my passport was one day expired. I had to pay a penalty. Yeah, exactly. So the fact is they're looking. They're checking. Love said it was implemented because he's talking about DEI. Qualified individuals are overlooked because they're not white. Well, there's a lot of subjectivity in that statement. First of all, qualified is a subjective term. So what you consider to be qualified, somebody else does not have to agree. And secondly, the reason why, because they're not white, again, you had to prove that, and there's no way of proving that. So I understand how that emotionally works on people, and it has worked very well. That's why DEI is a thing, but that's impossible to prove. It sounds good, but it's impossible to prove. And further, 333, even if it's true, so what? So even if you believe that to be true, so what? I'm still against it. So let's see. Paige said you have to protect your country. That's correct. Every other country does, and we generally do. Dude said, I think I just found my new morning show. Well, congratulations. I'm glad you're here. Life Coach 110 said, thank you for this conversation. You bring facts, professional, and I appreciate it. Thank you. I'd rather say I'm bringing truth. I don't like people play around with that word facts these days. Life Coach, I know what you mean, but people play around with that word facts. It's become overused now because you can take facts out of context. Alyssa said, until you send them to a liberal college. Yeah, exactly. Especially nowadays. I mean, it wasn't like this 20 years ago, but now, absolutely. T-Call said the school hands out computers with no protections. Also true. And Paige said, I stayed at my kids' school too. Yes, if you send your kids to school, your teachers better know who you are. Any of you sending your kids to school, your teachers should know you. Let's see. Love said, look at Trump's cabinet picks. There are people of color more qualified than many of his picks. Well, that's a non sequitur, Love. You are assuming that Trump has to pick people that you consider qualified. Do you have the power to get in his ear and tell him what to do? I would assume that you don't. So it's a non sequitur. Who said that Trump had to pick qualified people? He could pick who he wants. That's the power of winning the election. He just won an election, a federal election that anyone could have ran for. I don't think you ran. He won. He could do what he wants to do as far as his cabinet. He does not have to follow your criteria. Again, I just said this. You have an opinion. Do you have the power to enforce your opinion or to make anybody care about your opinion? If not, then your opinion doesn't matter. I mean, you can leave comments here, but I'm giving that as a general rule to everybody. So there are people out there like, well, Trump picked all white people for his cabinet. So it's his cabinet. He can pick whoever he wants. He doesn't have to pick the people you think he should pick. And again, qualified, that's a very subjective term. I got to be careful with these subjective words. Qualified is a very subjective word. You can't tell me who's qualified and who's not. I decide who's qualified when I'm making a decision. If I hire a new assistant to work for me, I don't care who you think is qualified because it ain't your money. It's my business and I'm doing the hiring. I decide who's qualified. Your opinion does not matter unless I say it matters. And same thing if you are hiring somebody for your business. What I think does not matter because you're the one spending the money. So y'all got to be careful with these subjective words like qualified. It doesn't mean anything. Marsha says, thoughts on allowing illegal immigrants work permits to stay and pay taxes on their income. Well, if they're illegal, they shouldn't be here, period. That's my thought. Every other country enforces, you can't just go to another country and just stay there and not have proper documentation. They're going to find you and they're going to kick you out. They might put you in jail. DJ Mixie says, all right, I answered that already. Paige said, I drove the school bus. Oh, shout out to people who drive school buses. Jade Star, too, said, you're great. Thank you. Marsha said, allowing to stay if they enter military. I say, if you are here without proper documentation, you should be kicked out, period. There's no gray area for me. T. Cole said, your personal opinion doesn't matter to others if you have no power, but it matters. Well, how does it matter? Why does it matter? Your opinion matters in that I'm reading it and responding to it right here. It matters here. But as far as what Donald Trump does, I don't think your opinion matters. If it does, please explain to me how. My opinion doesn't matter, even if I'm agreeing with him. So why does it matter? Melanie said, I think you should extend your discussions to 2 hours. Sometimes I do 2 hours. I don't always do 2 hours. And we're creeping up on 2 hours right now. Big Sam said, no one wants to spend more just to make it in America. Well, you're going to spend more no matter what. That's the thing. That's the part that some of y'all ain't getting. You're going to spend more no matter what you do. If they if every country every company in the United States pushed all their manufacturing outside the United States, the products will still cost more money. They are not going to be cheaper over time. Let's say over the next 10 years. I'm not saying something can't go on sale. All right. But I'm saying in the big picture, your costs are going to keep going up. That's not changing, folks. Only way that's changing is if the monetary system in America collapses, at which point there are no checks and balances. There's no police. There's no hospitals. There's no nothing. There are no rules, no laws, and dollars mean absolutely nothing. That means complete anarchy. How many of you ready for that? How many of you can physically fight? How many of you are a Second Amendment card carrier? If you ain't that, you don't want anarchy. All right, you don't want that, because that means the savages who are willing to do and take anything from anyone, they're going to come for you. And those of you who live in nice neighborhoods, they're coming for you first, because y'all got the resources. So y'all got to be careful with this cost thing. All right, cost is always going up. All right, so let me see if I can catch up where I was comment wise. So then, do you have what happened here? I don't know how this happened. All right, where are we at? All right, where was I? Oh, good. So there it is. T. Cole says, so you do have power, right? And your opinion does matter. I don't know what you're saying there. We need context. When y'all leave these comments, I got to put them in context. I'm not reading just your comments. I'm reading a bunch of comments at the same time. Coaches don't bench people who win games. That's right. Exactly. That's what sports are about. Mimi said, what books do I read? I could do a whole live on that. I've read probably in my lifetime, I've probably read anywhere from 500 to 1,000 books, probably in the 700 range. So I can't answer that question quickly. Thank you for the gift. Who is that? They show your face, but didn't show your name. Thank you for that gift. Some people are good solo, but bad for the team. I agree with that as well. Mandy says, speaking truth, crying about it won't help you. Don't like things, do something. Right. And what everybody can do is make more money. That's why I suggest all you do is make more money. Costs are not going down. It's not happening. You can move to another country. You can do that. Keep making American money, but live in another country. Now your dollar will go a lot further. You can do that. That's an option. Not billable says, I feel like we lost the plot. What's the plot? Mimi said performance-based is good context. You're correct. Let's see. Success has receipts. Yes, this is true. Let's see. I keep losing my spot. Sweet Licious says he didn't win. Who are you referring to? Who didn't win? I don't know how this comment got pinned. Is Brittany in here? I don't know if I saw her. Brittany, if you're in here, make yourself known. I don't know if I saw you this morning. Blake said 48 Laws of Power, Art of Seduction, 33 Strategies of War, Life Will Become Simple. Okay, maybe. Life Coach 110. I think that was you with the badge. Thank you. I needed this. Thank you. Following. Well, I appreciate it. Glad you found me. See, this is why I'm on TikTok, because some of you would not know about me if I was only on the other apps. And oh, by the way, those of you who are following me on TikTok, watching on TikTok, please follow me on Instagram and YouTube. The links are right there in my bio. You click the little link thing. My Instagram link is in there, my YouTube. Follow me in more than one place just in case anything ever happens over here, so that you can still find me and know where I'm at. And of course, work on your game university. D Woodall said, I got to go to work. All right. Have a good day at work. Let me see. T. Cole said, your opinion matters. Why you keep saying that? Why you keep emphasizing it? You think if you say it often enough, then it'll start mattering? Well, that is one of the ways the subconscious mind gets programmed. So technically you're right. Ash said, Project 2025 isn't Trump's. Yeah, they say that right there on their website. That is not theirs. Mimi said, your mindset is gold. Thank you. I've been working on it for a long time. It's the foundation of what we do is mindset. Big Sam said, no one wants to spend more just to make it in America. Well, you ain't got no choice, Big Sam. If you're going to live in America, you ain't got a choice. Or you can start buying from Walmart. And actually, you do have a choice. I just said it. Your choice is you can start buying from Walmart. And when I say Walmart, I mean that as a metaphor. I do literally mean Walmart, but I mean it metaphorically. Jeannie says, always a pleasure learning from you, sir. Thank you. DJ Mixie, I think I answered your question. I'm on there. They have a website. Project 2025 has their own website where I was reading straight from their website and a bunch of the points that I made here today. Papak Man said, a bunch of people don't do research. Yeah, most people don't do research. Most people accept what they hear because it takes effort to do research. Mimi said, I like your breakdown on sports versus business. My business is based on that. So I'm glad you like it. I've been explaining that for a long time. Sam Wesi Nadir Karume said, we are far past having the ability to make products cheaper in the United States. Yeah, I know. I agree with you. So Trump's tariffs are trying to bring manufacturing back to America anyway, because even though the costs will be higher, there's no way that the costs are going to go down. It's not happening. That's my point. So I get it that people doing things. I missed that pin comment. There was a pin comment up there that I just missed. Milkshake said comments are wild this morning. The comments are wild every day. Comments are always wild. There's never been a day, at least when I'm talking current events, the comments are always wild. JD416 said, glad I found you. Me too. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and YouTube. Those of you watching me on TikTok, please follow me on more than one place. All right. Things can go crazy on any one of these apps. Follow me on more than one app. Do not only follow me on just one app. So any of you, I'm talking to y'all on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Rumble, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow me on more than one app. I'm on all of them just in case. So Tyrone says, stop and frisk and police brutality and immunity for police to kill unjustly without consequences. Well, first of all, the police are controlled by the state, not by the federal government. So when Donald Trump said give full immunity to police, he was speaking metaphorically, not literally. I broke that down earlier. Donald Trump speaks metaphorically. He does not speak literally. He does not have the power to give full immunity to police. So his concept when he said that was explaining to his base, we are going to allow police to do their damn jobs and not feel like that if they do their jobs, they're going to lose their jobs or have to go to jail because they did their jobs. That's what he was saying without saying it. He speaks in metaphors. So that's what it meant when he said that, because he can't actually do what he said. He can't give immunity to police. It's impossible. Osai, I'm just going to say your last name. I can't pronounce your first name. Nadir Karume said, you are correct, but more tariffs will have an impact on goods and services. Of course they will. I explained that. Yes, they will have an impact. That's the purpose of there being a tariff. There are tariffs already. And he wants to put more because he wants to bring manufacturing back to America. He campaigned on that. He never lied about that. He said, I'm going to bring manufacturing back to America. That's what America first means. The trade-off is companies will either have to pay those tariffs or they're going to have to manufacture in America, and it's going to cost more. And it's going to make costs go up. But costs are going to go up anyway, even if he didn't do it, because our dollars are worth nothing. Our dollars keep getting worth less because we keep printing more money. More circulation makes the value of a dollar go down. So any of you who has money, you got $1 in your bank account or $1 bill in your pocket. That dollar is worth less now than it was 2 hours ago. Why? Because we keep printing more of it, and it's not based on anything. It's not backed by gold anymore. Vicious Vixen says, why is Elon Musk with them? Well, Elon Musk, first of all, is, I believe, the richest man in America. So if I'm running the campaign, I want the richest man in America on my side. How about you, Vicious Vixen? I'd rather have the richest man in America on my side than against me. So that's a good enough reason as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Brains, Diggs, and Ditcher says, people complaining about minimum wage. What should be worried about is maximum. That's correct. Exactly. People complain about the minimum wage or a living wage. If you even know what the minimum wage is, you got a problem. I say that to everybody. You shouldn't even know what the minimum wage is. I don't know what the minimum wage is, and I don't care. I don't want to know what the minimum wage is. Why would I want to know what the minimum wage is? I ain't making it. Sherry said, but higher prices don't always mean good quality. Yes, I understand. Yes, not always. I'm saying as a general rule. For example, you buy your groceries from Whole Foods, they're better quality than the groceries you get from Walmart. As a general rule. Neo said that type of thinking is what causes inflation. Well, inflation is going to happen anyway. I just explained it. Every time the Federal Reserve prints more money, inflation is going to happen. It's going to occur now, sooner or later, it's going to happen. Sherry said more money doesn't mean more better. As a general rule, it does. I know there are exceptions, but exceptions prove the rule. They don't disprove the rule. It's like if I say every basketball player is tall and then you show me some guy who's 5'2" and he plays basketball, that doesn't disprove the rule that basketball players are tall. That proves the rule. Exceptions prove the rule. The fact that you can point out an exception is more proof of the rule. So people complain. I answered that already. Every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern is when I do these lives, folks. I usually go about 90 minutes, sometimes 120 minutes. 8 a.m. Eastern is when I do these lives. No Name says you make more sense than any other live. Thank you. I agree. Mimi says definitely going to be tuned in. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if I saw Brittany here. I see these comments getting pinned, but I don't know who's pinning the comments. So Brittany, are you in here? Oh, I see you. I just saw you. All right, Brittany, I didn't know you were in here from the beginning. I don't know when you came in. When did you come in, Brittany? I didn't see you. Tyrone said, talk about, all right, you already did that. I already did the police thing. School have an app called Go Guardian to protect children's laptops. I didn't know about that. ECU Sugar Daddy says, are you an attorney? I should start saying yes to that question. People keep asking me, why do people always assume I'm a lawyer? I get people even here. I'm in Miami, by the way. Somebody asked me where in Florida. I live in Miami, Florida. Even when I'm walking around in Miami, people ask me if I'm a lawyer. Even people in my building ask me if I'm a lawyer. I am not a lawyer, but I should start telling people I'm a lawyer. Oh, Brittany, you came in later? All right. Well, good to see you. Thank you for pinning these comments. I am not a lawyer, but I'm going to start telling. Next time somebody asks me if I'm a lawyer, I'm going to say yes. But I got to be careful because they might ask me to handle a case for them, at which point my lie will get exposed. I am not a lawyer. I am a business owner. Let's see. What am I talking about? We're talking about Project 2025, Sylvia G540. Anonymous said, I love your podcast. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I got a podcast. Comes out every day. It's called Work on Your Game. So those of you want to listen to me and maybe you can't catch the lives or you want to hear me talk about more evergreen topics, I got a podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify. It's called Work on Your Game. Comes out every day for free. It's about 20, 30 minutes. So if you don't have an hour to listen to me do this, then you can listen to my show. It's 20, 30 minutes every day. Solo show. We got 3,000 episodes. Nadir said, taught my wife how to handle a firearm. Yeah, I need to get my firearm game up too. I need to take some classes. I need to get my firearm game up. Let's see. Yes, Work on Your Game on Apple and Spotify. Yes, that's on all of your favorite podcast apps. It's also on YouTube. So what I do for a living, I explained this earlier. My company is called Work on Your Game. It's also the name of my show. It's the name of my brand. We help ambitious people, business professionals, entrepreneurs, people who are serious about reaching their goals and maximizing on their potential. So we work with a wide range of people. So to give you an example, one of our coaching members she is in the health industry. She has a home healthcare business. Is that what they call it? Home healthcare. She has a home healthcare business. Another one of our clients is a financial advisor with his own business. Another one is a financial advisor who works in a corporate structure, but he runs his own office. Another one currently works for the government, but she's transitioning out and starting her own business, writing books and doing coaching. Another one, he works in corporate finance, but he wants to transition out. He's teaching people how to play musical instruments. So we have all these different people from different spaces. Some of my clients are professional athletes currently. I don't coach them. I'm not like a personal trainer, but I work with them on mindset, discipline, making sure they stay mentally tough throughout the season. So we work with a lot of different people from a lot of different spaces because my superpower, for those of you who want to understand what I do best, is not a particular subject. It's that I have the ability to take a complex topic and break it down and make it simple enough for anyone to absorb and understand. That's my superpower. That's what I do best. So I could talk about basketball. I could talk about mindset. I can talk business. I can talk entrepreneurship. I can talk about Project 2025, like we're doing right now. Once I absorb something, I know how to break it down and explain it in a way that even if you never heard of it or thought about it, I can help you understand it. Now, you may not agree with my opinions, but I know how to break things down and help you understand where I'm coming from and why, even if you disagree. That's my superpower. So that's why I work with different people from different industries, because I have this ability. And that's my best skill, by the way, what I just explained. I got other skills too, but if I had to name one thing professionally, is that. So if everyone could just make more money, we wouldn't have any problems. That's right. I agree. The good news is everybody can make money. Jeffrey says, straight to the point. That's what I like about you. No mincing of words. So I'm glad Jeffrey said that. So y'all see this pinned comment that Jeffrey has up there. And thank you, Brittany. When I ask my clients, because I work with a lot of people from a lot of different, as I just explained, different industries. And I ask them, what's the number one thing you get from me? What do I do best? At least in terms of why you stay and why you joined our program. That's what they say. What Jeffrey has up here right now is, Dre, you get to the point. You don't mince words. You keep it real. You're objective. You're honest. And again, you don't always have to agree with me, but you will understand where I'm coming from. So I don't need you to agree with me. I'm not in the business of making you agree with me. If you disagree with something that I said, that's fine. But you will understand what I'm saying. No one will ever leave a conversation with me confused as to where I stand and what I'm saying. That's when you're an expert at something, you have that ability. So those of you who never played basketball before, I could explain it to you in a way that you would understand exactly how it works within a 20-minute conversation. So Mimi, thank you. Follow me on Instagram. Thank you, Lucky1813. Big Sam, so you can ask Chat GPT. Yes, you can. You can ask Chat GPT. As a matter of fact, when I want to Google something these days, I usually go to Chat GPT before I go to actual Google. Any of you do that? I don't even use Google no more. I use this thing called DuckDuckGo. Y'all know this app, DuckDuckGo? I use them more than I use Google these days. Whenever I got a question about something. G Black said, thank you for talking about education, how parents should be involved. Yes, parents should always be involved in everything. My fund page said pay will go up and we can afford to buy American. Yes, if everybody just made more money. The good thing is the government's just printing money, or the Federal Reserve is printing money, so everybody can make more money. Big Sam said Chat GPT is research. Technically, you're correct. Yes, it is. Technically, you're right. It is. You need to find my YouTube. Just type in my name, Dre Baldwin. Brittany, can you put my name in the pinned comment so everybody can just find me? Because I see my name. Oh, my name is right here. If you're watching on TikTok, isn't my name right there in the top left corner? Can y'all see that? I can see my name on there. It says Dre Baldwin. It has a little picture of me, and then it says 18.3K. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's likes or can y'all see that? In the top left corner right there, it says Dre Baldwin. I don't know if only I can see that. Maybe only I can see it. But yeah, just look my name. That's my actual name, Dre Baldwin. Type that name in any app and I'm going to come up. I got verified accounts everywhere. I got a good number of followers everywhere. I usually am the only Dre Baldwin you can find. Do I like how Ron DeSantis is running Florida? Generally, yes. I don't pay a ton of attention to everything that he does, but I like his approach. I do like his approach. Now, I'm not some political watchdog. I don't pay attention to every single thing happening politically, but I generally like his approach. That's my answer to that question. Now, he might be doing some stuff that you know about that I don't know about. So I'll give you that disclaimer as well. What's the maximum I can make is a good perspective. That's a great perspective. As a matter of fact, it should be the only perspective. So everybody should do that. Liverpool said, circle back on this in 18 months. Well, all right, we're still around 18 months. I'll be talking about it. Anonymous says, how did the exception make the rule? I just told you. If I say all basketball players are, or I say basketball players are generally tall, is that true? I think most of us would agree. So the fact that you can point out one guy who's 5'4", who made it in basketball does not disprove the rule. The rule is still basketball players are generally tall. The one guy who's 5'4" making it to the New York Knicks does not mean that everybody who's 5'4" now has a chance to make it to the NBA. It's probably not going to happen. So exceptions prove the rule. Price is based on what people will pay. Yes, that's correct. Which means there's a price for everybody. So if you want to buy cheap stuff, you can. If you want to buy expensive stuff, you can. I missed that pinned comment. I didn't see it. All right, I'm going to take a couple more comments, then we'll drop off. Sweetlicious said, you are very blunt. Some say. Sweetlicious. Some say. Thank you. Love hearing you speak every morning. I appreciate you, G Black. Anonymous said, well, my company's called Work on Your Game. You see that book right there behind me? It says Work on Your Game. That's the name of my company. It's also the name of one of my books. Yes, let's go. Work on your game. There you go. Giving lawyer vibes with your suit and the books in the background. LOL. Are lawyers the only people who wear suits? I thought a lot of people wore suits, but I guess, okay. That's lawyer vibes. All right, I'm a lawyer. All right, so anybody ask y'all, Dre Baldwin's a lawyer. Nicole Smith, appreciate it. Monty Jean said, parents should be involved, but should they control curriculum? Yes. Yes, parents should control curriculum. That's a great question, Monty Jean. Yes, parents should control curriculum. Here's how you control curriculum. If you don't like what the school is teaching, take your kids out of the school and put them in a different school or take them out of school, period. Yes, parents should control curriculum. I'm a parent. My kids going to learn what I want them to learn. And if I don't like what school is teaching, they won't be going to school, period. Yes, I have 100% control over what my kids are absorbing. Yes, as long as they're living under my roof, they're going to learn what I want them to learn until they move out. Now, if you don't want to learn what I want you to learn, son or daughter, you go get an apartment, you go make your own money, and you get the hell out of my house. But until then, I'm in control. Absolutely. Great question. I answered that one already. A couple more. Someone said your articulation. Thank you. I've been working on it for a long time. I'm reading the comments. Mixtape Wizard, I'm reading the comments on TikTok. The most comments come through on TikTok. So I'm looking at TikTok, which is over here. YouTube's over here. LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Rumble over here. Instagram's over here. So I'm just reading the comments on there. Mimi said, are my books on sports? No, none of my books is about sports. Only book that's somewhat about sports is this one right here. This is my first book. It's called Buy a Game. See how young I look in that picture? That one is my story of when I first started playing basketball. All the rest of my books are about personal and professional development. All of these rest of these books you can see are personal and professional development. Actually, no, that's not true. This blue book right here and you see those yellow books right under it. Those are about how to play basketball overseas. So any of you want to play professional basketball overseas, that book is about playing basketball overseas. And I got 4 books on that. And then this one book is about when I first started playing. The rest of my books are all personal and professional development. Someone said, why is Trump operating a cryptocurrency scam? I don't know anything about that, so I can't answer that. I doubt that it's a scam. I mean, everybody calls crypto. Anybody disagrees with a crypto, they call it a scam. Mimi says, I'll do one-on-one. Yes, I do. Go to the link in my bio, Mimi, or send me a DM. All right, Brittany, can you just pin any comment that I need to see here? And I'll take a couple more, and then we'll wrap this one up so y'all can get on with your day. And I need to eat lunch and do other things as well. Yeah, DuckDuckGo has less suppression. Yeah, I've been using DuckDuckGo for a while because Google tends to show you what they want you to see. And any of you look into that stuff, especially like around politics, Google basically suppresses anything they don't like, and they promote the things they do like. So I stopped messing with Google as much as I used to. Sherry said, I appreciate your commentary. Yahuwah first. Enjoy your day. I don't know what that means. What does Yahuwah mean? Yahuwah. Yahuwah. Yahuah. What does that mean, Sherry? I never heard that phrase before. Monty said, oh, yeah, I answered that already. We can see it. Just followed you on YouTube. Thank you. So if you're on TikTok, follow me on YouTube and Instagram. If you're on YouTube, follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And Mixtape Wizard Kelly says, off topic, how do I stay motivated to create the content? Well, I got a lot of things that I want to say that I can't not say. That's what I tell people. That if you're going to create content, you should have something that you want to say that you can't not say it. That's when you know you should create content. I don't create content because I got a certain number of followers or likes or comments. I create content because I know I have something that needs to be heard and I can't be quiet about it. That's the reason why I create content. Whether I got 1 million people watching or 5 people watching, I will still publish. Nicole said, you have a thirst for knowledge being an Aquarius. LOL. Is that what they say about Aquarians, that we're thirsty for knowledge? I never heard of that. But I do have a thirst for knowledge, but I don't know if it's because I'm Aquarius. But I've never heard that before, but okay. I do have a thirst for knowledge, though, so you're right about that part. DJ Rocksteady said, Yahuwah is the name of the Most High. Okay, I did not know that. Okay, so I appreciate that for giving me that. Mimi, you want to get one of my books? Go to one of my book funnels. My books are on Amazon, but you get a better price and a better deal going to one of my funnels. Send me a DM. Send a DM. My assistant will see it, and we'll direct you to the type of book that you want because we got so many books. So we'll send you to the right type of book. And we'll give you a much better deal if you go through one of my book funnels. So yes, my books are on Amazon, but don't buy my books on Amazon. Buy them directly from us because we'll give you a better deal. If you just go to, send me a DM. I got too many books, so it depends on what you're looking for, and I can direct you to the right one. Jade Star said, I like the suit. It shows respect. Well, thank you. I didn't always wear suits every day. I started wearing suits every day probably like 2.5, 3 years ago because I liked the response I got when I had a suit on. So then I just said, let me just keep it up. Actually, you know, the person who first gave me the idea was a guy named Kevin Samuels. Y'all remember Kevin Samuels? He passed away like 2 years ago. One of the things that he said was every man should wear a suit like one day a week just to see how you feel different and people respond to you different. I was doing a speaking gig in Orlando in the morning and I had a suit on to speak on stage. Then I said, let me just keep it on for the rest of the day. And the response I was getting from random strangers was such that I was like, oh, this is interesting. I don't get this kind of response when I'm wearing a t-shirt and some Jordans. So then when I came back to Miami, I wore a suit like the day that I came back, and people who know me, they were giving me good response. I said, let me just keep doing it. And I just kept doing it ever since then. I was in Orlando by myself. I wasn't with anybody I knew. And I was just going around, like going to eat and stuff like that. And random people were giving me compliments because I had a suit on. When I dress nice, I get a better response and more respect. Yeah, exactly. And for men, it's easy for us to dress kind of like dress down, throw on a white t-shirt, some basketball shirt. I do that on a weekend still. If y'all saw me on a Saturday or Sunday, I'll be dressed like that. But for a man, it's easier for us to dress down. Like the gap between dressing up and dressing down for a man is like this. For a woman kind of has to do stuff. You do stuff every day. Women do their hair, their makeup. Men, we ain't really got to do anything. We just walk out and look normal. So for me, once I started wearing the suit, I just like the response. So I just kept wearing it. Vicious Vixen said, I'm Aquarius too. I have a thirst for knowledge. All right, great. So is there anybody here who's not an Aquarius who has a thirst for knowledge? And so we trying to find out if this is an Aquarius thing, or is it just us, or is it everybody? All right. So I think we went through everything here, folks. Anything else we need to get to? All right. I told you all, send me a DM if you want some direction on which book of mine you can start with, because we got a lot of different books on different subjects. I will tell you, actually, let me give you one if all of you want to get one. Okay. So I see some Libra said that, Sagittarius said that. I think the thing that we have in common, folks, is that we have a thirst for knowledge. I think that's why you all are here, because we're talking about things in a logical and objective way. And some of us happen to be Aquarians too. So shout out to the Aquarians. We got birthdays coming up in the next couple months, right? Everybody's Aquarius. One book you can start with is this book, thirddaybook.com. Brittany, can you pin just this last comment? Thirddaybook.com. I think I pinned that yesterday too. Thirddaybook.com. You can start with that book. That's my most popular book right now. It's all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. So Work on Your Game University is where I do my coaching. If you would like to have me as your coach, Work on Your Game University. Yes, we do one-on-one coaching. Yes, we have group stuff. We do stuff for businesses. I work with a lot of sales teams. That's workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can see some social proof of people we work with, and you can take a look at our program, schedule a time to get on a conversation with us. You can also send a DM to me on whatever app you are watching. Some of that's my email address is on there as well. My email address is on TikTok as well. You can just send me a direct email, which is Dre@DreAllDay, or email my assistant. Her email is in there as well. These lives we do Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. All right, everybody got that? 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Yes, thirddaybook.com. It's all one word. And there was one other question somebody asked. Name of that search engine? Oh, DuckDuckGo. Like a duck, like the animal, the duck. Remember that game we used to play as kids, DuckDuckGo? That's the name of that search engine app that I use instead of Google. It's called DuckDuckGo. I've been using that for a couple of years now. We just stepped into Aquarius yesterday. Is that true? Aquarius goes to like mid-February. I don't think so. I think it's Cancer now. I think Cancer is the one we are now. Topic for tomorrow is going to be part 2 of Project 2025, because I didn't finish it all. So tomorrow I got to do part 2 because it was so much that I didn't finish it all. So tomorrow is Project 2025 part 2. Friday is going to be Make America Healthy Again. All right. So that's the schedule of what's coming out. So tomorrow's part 2 of Project 2025. We did not finish. And then Friday is Make America Healthy Again. All right. So every 2,600 years we change. Yeah, tomorrow, Project 2025 part 2, because we didn't finish talking about it. I got to go to the bathroom. I need to eat lunch, and I got work to do. Y'all got to get to the rest of your days. I'll see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock, whatever app you're watching me on. Make sure you follow me in multiple places. Everybody have a great day. Thank you, Brittany. I'll talk to you. I'll hit you on the DM. Everybody have a great day. We out here. You got a thirst for knowledge, Geminis? That's what's up. Thank you.